That, I guess. How are we all? We continue the journey of the mighty Boosh. I just found out that you can ride mooses in near Automata last night. Is there a purpose to it? Hell if I know. But you can ride mooses. Is that the plural? Is it just moose? Is moose the plural of moose, or do you say mooses? I'm running with mooses. I'm very quiet. Should be very quiet. Let's fix that. Hello, hello, testing. Oh, I am very quiet. Look at that. Bring that closer. How's that? Is that better? That should be better. It's meese. Alright, I need to fix this mat under my chair because this is driving me crazy. Get back into position. Silly cur. Dare you defy me. One moment. As if a rug was stronger than me. Alright. Well, a long time ago, we were highly critical of the world design of this game. Because that tower serves no purpose. Well, turns out there's a few of them. Oh, hello. Nope, nope, you saw nothing. You saw nothing. That's right. I suppose we should try and get to that one. Actually see it up close. It looks like we can do that. Actually, what am I doing? I have a horse. It's more of a cow, actually. Oh, I missed. That's okay. Oh, I don't like that. That's not good. Alright, so where are we going? Big boy. Big guy up there. We killed so many eagles for no reason. Alright, so crossing this is going to be tricky, isn't it? Looks like it connects down there. Nope, it's not how you run in this game. That's in near. So these structures clearly toppled. They didn't degrade. They seem to be in actually excellent condition. So they've just kind of crashed. That's our way up. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Haha! Nope, you didn't see anything. Oh, shoot. How fast are those bears? I'm assuming I can outrun them. You taking call-ins from viewers? I am. You'll have to be in the Discord server, though. But I'll be taking them later on. I'm going to be making some progress in this first. You'll just have to stick around. Damn, this is big. This is very big. Ooh, see that's a trap. That is definitely a trap. Cemetery, don't you dare. Is that an NPC sitting there? Nope. That is not an NPC. Visions of Beaver's Cookbook. Surprised there's nothing dangerous here. Another one of those giants. Necessary item ahead. Seek church. The music is reminding me a lot of Senpou Temple from Sekiro. Whoa, that's a big bear. Damn. Let's What's that item there? Do I dare? Yes, I think I do. So what might happen... Okay, we need to figure out... How are we switching items again? Yeah, there we go. Because if I throw this, he'll have to come towards me, and I don't know which direction he'll go in, so he might leave that item alone. Maybe. Alright, well, let's give it a go. Oh, he's gonna jump up, isn't he? That is not a bear. It looks like a bear. But it does not have only properties of bear. Okay, what if I hit him again? He takes a lot of damage. I'm actually kind of surprised. Like a lot of damage. What else do I have that's range? Do I have anything? I don't think so. I wonder if I could actually beat him. I might actually be able to beat him. Hang on. Oh no. Oh no, okay. Alright. Oh, alright, we're doing this. Oh shoot. Oh shoot, oh shoot. What's he killing? Okay, while he's distracted by the wolves, I can get some hits in. I grab this while on the steed. I can. There's nothing there. Oh, shoot, shoot, shoot. Alright, we're getting out of here. So long, suckers. Where's that giant? I wonder if I bait the giant to get near the bear, will they fight? Let's try. Oh, really? Idiot. Come on, stupid. Come on. Come on. Let's show some gusto. There we go. On to glory. Oh, ow. Nope, 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 nope. Haha! Okay, this didn't work. This did not make things better. This made things much worse. Yeah, this did not help me. This plan This plan was not well thought out. Is he still chasing me? He's looking at me. I don't like that. Okay. Am I a vegan? No. Sacred Tear. Flask of Wondrous Physique. Interesting. Oh, I see. This is like potion crafting, basically. Okay. Okay. This is actually the first time I've seen a beach in a FromSoft game. What is this? Oh, bloodstain. Oh boy! Okay, it all makes sense now. Oh my god. This horse is not fast. If I try jumping over him. Nope, cannot do that. Okay, yeah, we can't jump very high. We will get a superior steed later. Then the crab will rue the day. We need some kind of ranged weapon. So, the throwing Bowie knives, I guess, that we had, those were effective, actually. If we had more of those, we could take out that bear pretty easily. Oh my god, you can double jump? That's so dumb, but I like it. I also don't know if that'll help me with this. Oh, we're not doing badly, actually. We are doing damage. God, okay, Steed's gone. Okay. Should probably try using her shield. Maui time. Oh, that is an ugly face. He won't chase me out of the grass, will he? Oh, he definitely will. Okay. Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me? You were walking away. Get one hit on him. I get one charged hit on him and he's dead. So what I need to do is escape so he stops pursuing me and then he turns around. And just slam him when he's not looking. Anybody behind me? No? Okay, good. Oh, for fuck's sake. Stop that. Just stop. Kill him, you piece of shit! Haha! Will this heal me? No, it will not. Crab eggs. The crab eggs help? Alright. This deserves a victory cry.
What are you, a fucking liberal?
There for crafting? Okay. We'll have to figure out how to craft soon. I think that one explodes. I think we've dealt with one of those before. We don't want to hit that one.
Hello? Is anybody there? Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, Erdtree, grant me succor. Hello? Is anybody there? Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, grant me succor.
Is anybody there? Oh dear. What a pickle. We're up against the wall. Okay, fine.
Servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, Erdtree, grant me succor.
That was bad.
Is anybody there? Someone
Oh my god, okay.
rescuing the great Kenneth Height.
We need to to separate them out a little bit. Shard?
Hello? Is anybody there? Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and
I'll take in
celebrated
calls soon.
repudiator of the false. Oh, grant me succor. Anybody there? Someone
Are these zombies or what are these?
rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, grant me succor.
Don't chance that. Aha! Alright. Okay, Kenneth, where are you?
Grant me succor.
Magic grease. Lovely. Okay.
Hello? Is anybody there? Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false.
I can't see Jack.
Oh,
Turn my brightness up.
me succor.
Okay, where is he?
Hello? Is anybody there?
Sounds like it's coming from above. It might be on the bridge itself.
Rescuing the great Kenneth Height, servant to the True Order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, grant me succor.
Oh.
Hello? Is anybody there? Ah, you've come to lend me your aid, have you? Well, that's very kind, but, no. No, the help is very much appreciated, even from a tarnished. Despite appearances, nobility is no prerequisite to serving the True Order. You might have heard of me, Kenneth Height. Next in line is the rightful ruler, untarnished. I would have a boon of you. I want you to take back my fort. It lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood. A knight commander from Stormvale took it. A fool! And plumb mad to boot. Simply obsessed with blood.
Apparently people are waiting. Yo, what's up?
Oh, hey.
Hey.
1 second. Okay.
What are you waiting for?
It's kind of random, but
Maybe.
gather my thoughts for a second. That's okay.
Yeah, take your time.
Everything like water.
You want to introduce yourself and pronouns, etc.?
Sure. Mia's insane idiot online generally. Pronouns are he, him. Yeah. One sec.
Yeah, no
I'm
worries.
from a doc to write down stuff I want to get for.
I've been here before. Okay.
Okay, so I'm not very prepared in the sense that I have not watched your full, I guess, research stream on uh I guess trans genocide or whether or not it's happening. So I can't speak to all the examples, right? But I think I'm sort of just I can criticize it from a different angle in the sense that like I can grant I think it's definitionally justified off of like some things I already know, but I guess I don't know if optically it's always a good move to call it a genocide. So I don't know.
All right. Well, elaborate, please.
Sure. So I guess what I'd say is I think you could justify it definitionally in the sense that if you ban trans healthcare, it leads to people dying. Specifically, there have been laws. I don't know if it was passed, but I remember in Texas, I remember like reading a bit where there's a whole thing where if you're basically a minor and you're getting trans healthcare, you'd be removed from your parents' home. I don't know if that ever got struck down as a principle or like policy, but that was a thing for a while, which is pretty bad. And I would say like forced removal from, your community is
Well,
like
we can find it right now. I'm a little bit curious, actually. This is in Texas.
Yeah.
If youth
There you
transition.
go.
Texas Attorney General says Ken Paxton says transition care for minors is child abuse under state law. Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, quote, has a responsibility to act accordingly, unquote.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if this ever got acted on or if it ever got struck down by higher courts, but yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
it looks like it's still being argued over. This is from back in February though, so I don't know what the current state of it is. We never actually got around to covering Demon Mama's coverage of it. Maybe I'll take an hour off today's stream and look at that. But I would be very surprised if she hasn't been keeping up with that more closely.
Yep. So I guess my argument would be you can probably definitionally justify it. Where it gets complicated is whether or not
So by
it's
definitionally
good.
justify it, just to
Yeah.
be very concrete about this, what we're saying is that
Sure.
by the colloquial and by technical understandings of the term, the actions that are taking place qualify as genocidal.
Yeah.
Okay, continue, sorry.
Sure. I guess the thing where it gets complicated, I guess, in my head is whether or not it's sort of good as a political actor to describe it as something like genocide or something more like akin to segregation. In the sense that
it's not simply segregation, because segregation isn't like a thing it approximates to. Segregation is something that's included in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess the reason I may tend more to the term segregation is because I feel like it's easier to defend against like an opponent or other side, right? Because with segregation, you could easily point to examples of
an opponent over what? Sorry.
So like, I guess what the fear in my head is, as a sort of abstract fear that I can't like highly justify with evidence, is that if you as a political actor sort of throw out into the ether, there's a trans genocide going on via tweets or via headlines and articles. What like people on the right wing can just do is point at that and go, "That's absurd. People are delusional. Genocide obviously means when you round up people into camps, and we're not doing that." And sort of like they can avoid having any kind of like direct debate where you can actually pin down, oh well, by blocking trans healthcare, you're actually like killing people. They don't have to debate you directly. They can just take the word genocide and run with it and point at that as like a reason you're, a crazy person. And because it's a sort of inflammatory word, and a lot of people just think, oh, that just means the concentration camps, and not anything more nuanced than that.
But what word would you think would be more appropriate?
I guess I feel like segregation may be more easier to like point at, because at least there
segregation doesn't include the deaths caused by the refusal of medical treatments that we know scientifically prevent deaths.
I
agree. It doesn't account for the depersoning of them in the public schools. It doesn't account there's a whole bunch of things that aren't included in that. And moreover, couldn't we just have the exact same argument about desegregation? People have the argument about gay marriage. It's like gay people have the same rights as straight people do. Yep. They can marry the opposite sex just like anybody else can, right? That was an argument that you saw ubiquitously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with this. It just I guess it's a question of like to what degree certain because in my head at least, it's not like there's no optical argument for why genocide may be used, right? Because I think like the pro side of it would be if you use the word, it sort of energizes people into like giving a fuck, and because it's such a sort of like in your face word, it like can wake people up to the reality of like people dying and it being really shit. I guess just like the counter of that is like I don't know to what degree like people can avoid having the conversation by simply pointing at the word and being like, oh well, like this is just an example of them being like totally crazy or whatever. And that's like a hard line to balance. I don't really know. Like,
I mean,
it's because I guess like in my head, I think like within this space online, in like lefty communities where you're debating people directly, you can probably get away with just saying the word genocide and it passing. Because if anyone tries to point at you and say you're a fucking crazy person, you can just call them into a debate and very easily like point at the evidence, right? But rather, if you're in a different position in the media where you're like writing articles or you're like producing headlines, that's where I feel like you have less control over how your words are taken, And I'm afraid like that's where maybe it's better to be more euphemistic just for like optics sake. Yeah. In the sense that like you may use a word like segregation instead of genocide, because you could say, oh, trans people are being excluded from sports or from bathrooms or from general society as their kids are being. Yeah.
Okay, fine. But if we agree that technically what's going on is a genocide, we respond to a genocide differently than we respond to other kinds of thing, right? That's a more severe thing than like a mere case of segregation in sports, or a mere case of some teacher or school board or whatever being boomerish and hand-wringy about talking about anything relating to gender or sex or whatever before kids enter adulthood. It's all of these things together that combine to have the result of effectively disappearing an entire community of people from public existence, bluntly. And I suppose what immediately occurs to me as we're talking about this is that I can't think of a single example of somebody having a conversation where transgenocide is brought up, where, that's just it. It only comes up as like a point of contention in conversation. It seems to only generate conversations. It seems like a certain kind of person strongly objects to it, and then this becomes a big sticking point in an argument. But typically the people for whom that's a big sticking point, they aren't convinced anyways, and they telegraph the issue more broadly by continuing to talk about it. So it generates more attention, even amongst people who are incredulous, just because they bluntly don't actually care what happens to that group of people. Who would receive the idea that there is a trans genocide going on, decide that that's overblowing it, and then not care about all of the stuff that's actually being packed into that. It's like somebody who doesn't care that trans kids are being denied access to healthcare that would keep them alive, or that they're being depersoned in public schools, or that they're being treated as like groomers in law, or all these sorts of things. Who would who would not care about all those? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. It's just like,
Sure.
it seems to me that the only difference would be, if you switch terms, is that some stuff that's important to pay attention to would be left out of the conversation, and you would have the exact same disputes over a downgraded term that would yield the exact same result. Like, what do you mean segregation? What do you mean da 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 da? It's not that bad, clearly. It's not like in Nazi Germany. And there's
I guess you could compare it more to like something like I guess just like black and white segregation in like the civil rights era, 50s, 60s. You know, I think you can, because I mean there are literally places in the States, I believe, like where there's like signs on businesses like, we do not serve trans people, or like, if you're trans you can't use the bathroom here, or stuff like that, or like it immediately brings up that imagery. So
yeah,
I feel
sure,
like,
that's included.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's important to draw attention to the other thing,
Sure.
well, to genocide
Yeah.
in particular, is that the issue isn't just. This is also an issue, but the issue isn't just that. For example, a bakery won't bake a cake for a gay couple or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's not equivalent. The issue is this entire category of person by a cumulative set of activities and behaviors are being squeezed out entirely. It's because the problem isn't solved by, oh, we've banned anti-trans signs on buildings.
Yeah.
It's not solved by no, we're ceasing to illegalize life-saving treatments for trans youths, right? Those are all important things to do, but doing one of those things and saying hurrah, that doesn't solve the rest. And what you don't want is for people to be treating any one of these things in isolation as being not serious. And moreover, like that depersoning element, hang on, I gotta kill a wolf here. That elimination of a category of person from the public perception, and their elimination as an entity to which their government has any sort of responsibility, that's a major problem in and of itself, which can be affected by other means than the aforementioned. So it's I don't know. I'm not convinced that the bare fact that some people might argue, which is a form of engagement, might argue that genocide is overblown. I don't think that's a strong enough reason to not use the term. And then there's the additional factor, where at this point, people are already using the term genocide, right? It's already fairly widespread. It's not super widespread in like mainstream media sources yet, but it's pretty widespread. So the result of arguing about the use of the term now with those people is basically to cut the legs, or to try to cut the legs, out from under a movement to draw attention to a very severe thing that's taking place, that we agree is taking place. Remember, we agreed at the beginning of the conversation. Genocide is an apt description. And that's it. Like to what end? To downgrade the public perception of the severity of what's going on? That's the only outcome that can take place. If we were litigating early on, like, okay, get all of the trans people and allies together before we do anything, and let's plan. What's the exact language we want to use to get the maximum effect? I personally would probably still go with genocide, but let's assume like that wasn't the best term. Okay, maybe, but that's not the situation we're in right now. This is a dispersed community that you can't actually wrangle that way.
Well, I want to clarify to a certain degree, right? Where I think, like, within the present, I guess, online space you're in, I don't think there is much of an issue with saying genocide, right? I guess to me, it's more of a, like, theoretical concern, or something to, like, I guess, keep in the back of your head, right?
Well, in what spheres would genocide be a bad term?
possibly in just like mainstream spheres where like I guess this is the thing of like maybe I'm arguing more from anecdotal areas here sometimes where like I feel like oftentimes whenever I see like just headlines, news articles, these sort of like abstract tweets on the internet where like people will just gather around and discourse about it off the cuff, like in those sorts of places where like you can't like people are not arguing from like compiled evidence or anything like that, right? So they just see the word genocide and they're gonna like lose their minds and like be like, oh god, like it's clearly delusional, it's clearly like it's again like overblowing the whole thing, like
Yeah, but those people
yeah,
are already nonetheless being made aware in the process. Like when
yeah.
that's
I
brought
mean,
up, because this is what happens, right? Someone says genocide.
yeah,
Some normie who's not paying
yeah,
attention, who doesn't really care, goes, "What? Really a genocide? That seems
yeah,
a little bit extreme."
yeah.
And then someone replies, "No, look, this, and this is happening. You're not calling this a genocide?" If they're the kind of person who doesn't care about those things, then the question of whether or not it's accurately characterized as a genocide to them is moot because they don't care about genocide. If literally the threshold is we can only call it a genocide once people are literally being put into work camps,
Yeah.
those are not people worth convincing because that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is the depersoning of a category of people. Nobody's saying that they're putting trans people into trains and sending them out
Sure.
into the wilderness to be worked to death or something. It's something else that's going on. So it's just neither here nor there.
Um. Yeah. Like. Okay. Let me think. I
Yeah,
guess.
go ahead. See what chat's yelling at me to do in Elden Ring. Oh, did they see me? I think they saw me. Okay. We're just gonna quietly go over here. Didn't see anything. All right. Still with me over there?
So yeah, I'm just trying to think. The problem is like my position, I guess ultimately is kind of unfalsifiable. Where like I'm not really arguing from like a lot of stated evidence of just oh well this is a concern in my head. So that inherently doesn't make it really strong because you just take like the opposite of like well be perfectly fine optically we just don't know, and it generates conversation. So I mean, in that sense, I don't really think I'm having like a very strong stance against it as much as just like venting. I'm afraid sometimes like using stronger language from, like,
Here's
throw
what I
people
think.
off.
Here's
Yeah,
what I think.
I don't know.
People who talk about this kind of thing with terms like genocide, where you know that you're going to be by deploying it, you're going to have like a lot of attention on you, should try as much as possible to be prepared to explain what it is that they're talking about, because you're going into a public venue, and it behooves you, if you care about this, to be able to the best of your ability. And sometimes people are caught off guard or they're having conversations and it's just like it comes up naturally. You're bewildered because somebody's not taking an obvious fact seriously or something, and that's understandable. But to the extent possible, you should be prepared to try and persuade as strongly as you can, either the person you're talking to or the people who are watching you talk to that person, so that it is taken seriously and attention is drawn to it, because you do need that. But I don't think curating our language to be as inoffensive as possible or to be as milquetoast as possible affects anything except lowering the extent to which success is even possible, because you're now litigating a more moderate term, and you're probably going to end up compromising in terms of the response down from that a little bit, Probably, in all likelihood, with any conversation that you're having. And so instead of arguing with somebody and ending up with them not being convinced about the appropriateness of the word genocide, but they're suddenly really alarmed about the extent to which trans people are being targeted for abuse and elimination, and are being like restricted from access to treatments that keep them alive, that keep children alive. Instead, now they're arguing about just one of these little things that you've decided is the most likely to succeed. They have a downgraded idea of that. They were already not directly affected, otherwise they would have a pretty strong opinion of it themselves in all likelihood. And just the general response is weaker and possibly completely ineffective. Like a weak and mild. Mildness is not typically very politically effective. Definitely not by itself. Just as a general rule.
Yeah.
Being passive and inoffensive, and being as gentle as possible to not offend strangers on the gamble that maybe if they don't dislike you too much, they'll like you enough to inconvenience themselves on your behalf. It's just not a good bet.
I'm not really asking for, I guess, the direct opposite of, you have to be, like, very milquetoast. I think you could possibly, like, be inflammatory in maybe other ways you go, like, oh, look at, the thousands of people are dying, or, stuff like this in a sense, where you point at, like, just sort of the severity of the problem in, like, strong language. So I don't think you necessarily have to just take, like, the opposite approach of, like, couching it in the most inoffensive terms. It's more I'm afraid by sticking to a term, it could be disregarded.
Sure, I'm going to let somebody else in a second. So,
sure.
But here's my suggestion instead. Okay. What I would lead with is not the genocide point generally. I would lead with, if you're broaching a conversation with like a brand new party that you are aware is not familiar with what's going on, I would lead with one of these issues in particular. The taking children away from parents' homes if they are undergoing transition early, as well as the removal of access to life-saving medications. That's a really concrete one. I would lead with that, and then follow with, this is part of a genocidal action or a genocidal movement against trans people as a category. If that's a way in which you can wedge the overall issue in, I mean, by all means, but I don't think arguing about whether or not genocide is the appropriate term is first of all appropriate or sensible, and secondly, I don't think it'll affect anything good. I think the only thing it can do is just act as a hindrance to the people who are actually trying to advocate against these actually really bad things that are taking place. Like, I just don't see any practical value to it. I mean, finally, at the end of the day, even if you're right, it doesn't matter, because you can't actually convince everybody else to adopt your strategy. So all you will affect is just, like, infighting on these trivialities that will just slow down and again act as a hindrance to people who are trying to address the actual problem.
I mean, I'm not trying to, like, go up to every trans person and be like, how dare you use the word genocide, and, like, that's the only thing I'm, like, spending my time on.
That's what you would have to. That's what you would have to do. That's what you would have to do. Like, let's say I agree with you right now. Yeah, we shouldn't use the word genocide. Okay, what has that achieved? Literally nothing, unless the expectation is that I'm not going to have a similar argument with somebody else, and we're not going to waste time litigating whether or not we should use a more milquetoast term to appeal to, like, a liberal, a moderate liberal general audience that doesn't care either way.
Yes, I guess I'm kind of confused by this argument in the sense that, like, generally speaking, when you have political conversations, just like, one-on-one, you're not going to be affecting anything on, like, a large scale, at all. Like, I don't have control over, like, politics in general. I have a conversation
in front of an audience, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure, but I'm saying, like, just day to day, if you just have a conversation with someone like, oh, we should have universal healthcare. Like, I haven't changed the system by doing that. It's just that conversation I had. Like, as a general rule, it'd be nice if people, promote the policy, but, like, I guess in general, I guess I don't really see how do I put it? Like most conversations you have about politics, in like circles that do not extend to like thousands of people watching, are not like very effective. Like they're not gonna like suddenly change the world.
Oh,
in the
I think they
process.
can be
Yeah.
very effective.
Sure.
I just think they're effective in very
Yeah.
soft and dispersed ways that are difficult to track. But
Sure,
I
yeah.
you have like a few key people who are convinced by something or who take an interest in a person who makes a compelling argument. That can precipitate that argument from reaching a very large number of people in a very effective way, or from people being softened to it, so they become interested in things that sort of edge towards what that argument's proposing, or towards the
Sure.
position that it presumes, something like that. Yeah.
I don't know where I am like conclusion wise here, because like I guess, I maybe I should have started out with this in the sense that like I don't really have a strong opposition. So it's more of just like here is a like concern in the back of my head, not like this is a reason to sort of disregard whether or not you like want to
And
use the term at all.
it's a concern.
Sure.
It's a
Yeah.
concern is it your greatest concern?
No.
But
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
but you chose to lead with this one.
Just because it's just a random thing I've just seen Twitter discourse over, and I don't know. I would just try to figure out like what it is you actually care about first and foremost, and I would. I mean, I think I have a general set of politics. I like try to push and like it was just normal people. Like I mean, in the sense of like some like Demsoc general progressive politics. Like I don't know, like I don't think I'm completely politically ignorant, but
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
yeah, sure. Okay.
Take care.
Sorry, that wasn't a very interesting argument. Like,
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. Read Demsoc, you said?
Yeah, I would say.
Are you familiar with Eric Weitz's History of Weimar Germany?
No.
No? Look that one up and read the...
This is an argument against electrons. Yeah.
No, just
Or-
just food for thought. You can find it on LibGen, I'm sure.
Um,
Let me find the chapter
Okay.
for you.
I've seen the what is the video?
Revolution and Counter-Revolution. Give
you-
that chapter.
Are you aware of Cuck philosophy? Or
Jonas
yeah,
Cephas, I think it's called now?
yeah, I've seen the video on the first part on how like the SPD kind of fucked up hard.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's interesting
yeah.
as to why.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
let the next person in. You take care. Thanks for coming on.
Have a good one.
You.
Me?
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, this is actually the, not to be weird here, but this is actually the largest, amount of people I've spoken in front of, so this is kind of interesting, sort of impromptu, but I was told that I was supposed to bring some content to discuss.
Oh,
But I should probably introduce myself, shouldn't I?
Nah, nobody cares about you. No, go on
fair
introduce yourself and pronouns, etc. Oh, god damn it. What the? Oh, right. I died here last time. I should know this. All right.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Imran. If you're in the Discord, you probably know me, or if obviously I'm in chat as well because I'm a mod at the moment. Pronouns are he, him. What I wanted to talk about today is actually not something that has been on the docket as of late.
Okay.
But I thought it was kind of interesting because it's something I've been thinking about. I think it's something that would apply, that you would, based upon some of the content I've seen over the past year, that I think you'd have some interesting takes on. So
Please don't let it be vegetarianism or veganism.
I hate debating that shit, honestly. I'm not okay, we're not gonna have any vegan gains, ask yourself content going on here. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Yeah, but so I feel like I want to open up with this. In the 50s, there was a really influential work by the anarchist philosopher Jacques Ellul, and it was centered around this idea of
Say that name again?
Jacques Ellul. I think you probably know him.
Ellul.
He's a French anarchist philosopher. I'm sorry if you hear that, by the way. I should close my window.
I can't hear anything.
Like,
I'm killing the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and he's chasing me with a giant food processor.
Fantastic. So I want to say around the 50s, he wrote this book called the Technical Society,
Yeah.
and this is going somewhere, I promise. The premise was around the development of something he called technique, around sort of the crushing of all sort of content into systems of efficiency and concerns of efficiency for sort of like the current systems at like all levels, in terms of production, in terms of all sorts like managerial work, all sorts of things. And he like wanted to know how this bared on the individual, especially the analyst or the philosopher, so on and so forth. And he has a quote. I want to open up with this quote. He says, on I think page 77, he says, "Every conscious being today is walking the narrow ridge of a decision with regard to technique. He who maintains that he can escape it is either a hypocrite or unconscious. The autonomy of technique forbids the man of today to choose his destiny." And the reason I bring this up, which seems like very abstracted from what everyone's concerned about, is because I really wonder what you think the place of the sort of polymathic, free-floating intellectual is in today's society, where it seems like we are bombarded with statistics and concerns about efficiencies and like these really complex systems that require people with a very specialized skill and really only that skill to govern them. And not just in terms of like things like computing technologies, but things like economics, things like transportation systems, things like, a risk analysis, right? Nowadays, everything is there's actually a computer. There are computing systems that determine risk in all parts of of human society for the purpose of financial speculation. So they're made to predict all sorts of events. A good example of this is BlackRock's Aladdin network. So it seems, and a great work by the sociologist Ulrich Beck, called The Risk Society, focuses on things like this. So in a world where it seems like everything is being like extremely specialized and imminent to the fields themselves, there's a lot of complexity that is just hard to grapple onto if you're someone who's kind of just free floating, so to speak. Do you think that we are losing the place of someone like a Karl Marx, someone who has like a totalizing ideology for like radical change, and more so just opening up more and more lanes to sort of social tinkering, as say maybe Noam Chomsky would put it?
Well, I think kind of perversely we're all sort of expected in this like hyper specialized world to either be complete know-nothings that just defer to official authorities that are supposedly responsible for sorting through all this information and just fail to, or we're all expected to be those polymaths ourselves, and then we fail to. And I think that's sort of brought to, like, the one kind of person who is expected to be a polymath and to be basically omnicompetent in every kind of information, I guess informational discipline, is someone in a streamer's position, because they have no specific credentials that make their speaking to any given issue appropriate, but their entire vocation is trying to look as though they can deal with those things in an appropriate or in a professional or an effective way. That's my immediate thought on that. Hang on, getting my Steve ready. There we go. All while being heavily distracted. Case in point, I'm pretending to be Vosh in a facsimile of Middle Earth as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. But by the same token, like, I don't think it's beyond any of us to do, really. I think the catch, though, is our metrics for success don't really include any kind of actual intellectual achievement. Even the success of academics and philosophers is typically gauged in terms of how many books you sell, how well known you are, what chairs you occupy, things like that. And the way in which you achieve those things has nothing to do whatsoever with actually contributing to your field at the end of the day. It's great sometimes when people manage to do both, but more often than not, the most successful academics and the most successful, supposedly, specialists are going to be complete boobs like Steven Pinker and like A.C. Grayling and those types of people. Just awful milquetoast popularizers of ossified material that actually hinders actual specialists from getting through to the public, or actually like interesting philosophers from getting through to the public by giving the impression that the questions are much more simple and straightforward than they actually are, that have to be addressed.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you've posed, I think, a problematic that is something that's been burgeoning for maybe the past half a century, but certainly in the last 20 years, which is this idea that the sort of signs of prominence in a field are now being exchanged with one another, where it seems like now there's like a structural element, which is to say that now works, like say great works of scholarship, are now more judged upon their differential value with other works and how they can be slotted into a market. Take, say, for example, the work of Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Very pedestrian, right? Nothing, any sort of like, anyone who's very intimate with any of the subject matter would really find it very compelling or intriguing or anything like that. But because it has that sort of differential value in a sort of pop intellectual market, it's now billed as something it very much isn't. You could probably say the same thing for *Sapiens* and other books of this type. It's interesting because it seems like what you're proposing is sort of like unmooring from the fundaments of what of some sort of like serious substance, some serious contribution to any intellectual field. And it's interesting because beyond maybe the few shining moments, and I put heavy quotes on this because a lot of people may not agree with this, from books like Capital in the 21st Century, which is probably like the closest thing I can get to like a rock star work that had some substance behind it, which is debatable depending on where you stand economically or ideologically. But you could say that it wasn't something that was completely just air, like Steven Pinker-esque work. Beyond something like that, it seems like we might be out of the era of capitals. You think that's possible? That we're just kind of out of the era of
giant big German tomes, like just detailing like one. I don't think we are actually. I think they do exist, but they don't occupy the same space they used to.
Sorry. Before we go on, this is weird. Leo said like you really need to check the administration channel or something like that. Something like really urgent.
Oh, what's going on? Sunday, your camera's turned too low. They can see you don't have pants on. Hang on.
Was that really it? I'm so sorry. Like Leo tagged me. They're like, "Oh my God, Sunday has to see this. Sunday has to see this."
Oh no, he's got an order of. Oh my God, Leo, thank you. I appreciate that, bro. Oh my God, calm down.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, sorry.
Sonsol's ready to go too, so I'll bring him on soon. Kill me. What is this? Sorry, as you were. Brooks was distracting me with something.
Oh, it's fine. Well, I think you were going on because we were leaving off on how like I was like postulating that perhaps the capitals may be passed, and you're like, well, no. It seems like there's still some work out there to be of substance, etc.
I mean, like sure, there's definitely stuff out there, but I think like a consequence too of hyper specialization is that people can't actually succeed without hyper focusing a huge amount of their efforts on one very narrow thing, so that they have a niche and they have something to contribute in a department where increasingly positions are being defunded and disappeared. So, I mean, they do exist, but they're few and far between. And it also occurs to me too that a lot of them are being made by people who manage to get like established positions before, like the mass defunding of liberal arts programs really got underway.
I think Habermas, I feel like it's Habermas, also saw this sort of the terrifying nature of a situation where everyone's kind of there's a lot of stratification, where everyone's kind of in their own little burrows of deep informative work, with a sort of inability to have some sort of I was gonna say transfield. There's a word for this. Oh my god. When something's like interfield, like damn, anyway, I'll pick it up later. Interdisciplinary. There we go. Where it's harder to have like interdisciplinary connections because everyone's so extremely specialized. Like it's really, really, really hard to do this like effectively. It's so difficult. And I just wonder because I knew someone who's in academia through Discord, and their wife is also in academia. Really great people. Actually, he recently posted a thing on the ethics of peer review. Really good video. You should probably check that out sometime. This was around the time when we were going over the doing the research streams for like the Weinstein case and like the idea of like orthodoxy in academia.
Right.
And it was actually, I think it came out the day that you reviewed the people who tried to do like the Sokol hoax part 2. Those like jackals. But I remember we were having a conversation. He was like, "Yeah, where my wife works, the faculty at that university had a situation where they had to like do they had to take on a subject they weren't that familiar with and like teach that for like a couple semesters, and you could just see how uncomfortable they were with it, even the very fundamentals, because they just had no idea what they were stepping into because people become so specialized."
I think we might have lost the connection. Hang on one sec. No, we're good. Okay.
Okay. In some fields I think are quicker at this than other fields. Like mathematics, for example. They say that the last polymath came around in mathematics in like the 19th century. I forget his name at the moment. He was a genius though. But in the 20th century, you'll be hard pressed to find someone who's at the forefront of any of two given mathematical fields. So when you have this like intense stratification, I really wonder what the future of just inter specialization contribution will be when it's just becoming this difficult to even manage one subject. Because now it's starting to become the point, I think, where if you try to do an interdisciplinary thing, you'll have people getting like really, I see this all the time. Someone will make like an interdisciplinary work about any subject, and you have like a bunch of these people coming out of the woodwork saying, wait a minute, on this very particular topic, you didn't represent this as, optimally as you could have. And well, if that's going to be what's met at any attempt to kind of fuse together fields, it's hard to see how things like big theories, like big ideological frameworks can ever usurp a situation like this where everything is based upon a sort of tinkering of already given axioms, right? Like it seems like we're just so moored into certain axioms, and we're at the point where we're just tinkering with them, that I'm not sure that it might become a sort of Christ, that fallacy, sunk cost fallacy, might become a sort of large sunk cost fallacy situation, which is actually really terrifying. The idea that you can dig in your heels into something intellectually just through the force of investment. Because remember, things like, for example, science live on capital expenditure, right? Think about what we found out.
That's the thing, and even Weber hit on this. The condition of engagement is that you become useful to a state apparatus that has only particular uses for you and for your knowledge, and for advancing the knowledge that you produce in specific ways that are advantageous to it. So it is a massive sunk cost fallacy. It's not ours. In order for individuals to even be funded and be permitted to spend their lives engaging in research and thinking and stuff like that, they have to play ball with a system that has only practically, despite like the ambitions of any one of its members, its own interests at heart in anything that it does. So we're a little bit hooped. It is terrifying. we're slowly getting into a place where we're structurally incapacitated as far as thinking is concerned. Like, we can't really afford to.
Yeah. Well, I think this was. I think we're starting to bore people. I think I'm starting to hear some snores coming through the ones and zeros.
I'm not bored. I do have Sondsol waiting though, and frankly, I'd rather
Yeah.
talk about this.
Oh, fair
much
enough.
longer
But
than with that one,
but I think I think wait, you know what? I do want to bring up something that Noam Chomsky once said. I'm not a big Chomskyite. I don't agree with like universal grammar or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. But on this topic specifically, Chomsky was really interested in the transition between what he called, what I would refer to as maybe the polymath or the multipotentialite, what he would call the free-floating intellectual, so to speak, into what he described as the technical expert. And he goes off of an essay, he riffs off of an essay that Daniel Bell, if you know the sociologist Daniel Bell, very prominent in the 20th century,
I don't.
wrote.
Continue.
Oh yeah, he's like a big one. Like if you're into like American like intellectuals in the 20th century, Daniel Bell is like for sociology is pretty huge, I think. So Chomsky says, thus it would seem natural to describe the consensus of Bell's intellectuals in oh excuse me, wait a minute. I actually started at the wrong place. That's very embarrassing. Okay, here we go. The scholar expert replaces the free-floating intellectual who felt that the wrong values are being honored and rejected in society, and who has now lost his political role. Now, that is, that the right values are being honored. Conceivably, it is correct that the technical experts who will or hope to manage the industrial society will be able to cope with the classical problems without a radical transformation of society. It is conceivably true that that bourgeoisie was right in regarding the special conditions of its emancipation as the only general conditions by which modern society could be saved. In either case, an argument is in order, and skepticism is justified when none appears. So that's and that's why I like clash so hard with, for example, economics as a field, because I know some really very smart people. I know some extremely smart people in that field, and a lot of times it just ends up being a manager for axioms that are just completely unchallenged. Things are just completely grounded. Like, how do I bring up, for example, like a Baudrillardian, like speaking of Jean Baudrillard, like a critique, like a deep critique of like political economy to someone who.
Well, that's just it though, right? Because economics used to be a facet of political thinking, and you would approach it not just as like, okay, here's just a domain in which these particular entities are relevant, and it's as simple as that. You would approach from the outside. The earliest works on political economy were concerned with things like the education system. They were concerned with like the relationship between like it was highly porous with other things that fed into it from outside, whereas now it largely seems like you have these super intricate systems that simply presume as kind of like an unbreachable wall. This is just the economic domain. It's concerned with things like with finance, with trade relations, But that's it. It's money-ish things, and that's all. There are exceptions to this, but generally you have these like super ingenious theories that are completely boring because they're entirely enclosed within that. So
And this reminds me of something you said a long time ago. And you were at this point you were speaking about conservative theories, and you talked about how conservative theories can be so incredibly consistent within their own precepts, that within the sort of structure, so to speak, that they inhabited, that everything could be internally perfectly consistent and almost quite beautiful as a cosmology. But the issue is that they never really do the work to see if what they're describing actually meshes with any given situation, right? They never actually make sure the map completely binds to the territory, which I think is also a situation I see a lot in quite a lot of fields, really.
Yeah, including political science, which is a butchery at the moment. International relations in particular is probably one of the most degenerated fields in existence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let you go, because I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to bring in that one.
Right. It was great talking. Thank you for having me on.
Come back anytime.
Of course. Have a good one.
And Imran can be found and abused within our server.
Indeed.
So join. Take care, Imran.
Bye.
Alright. I will be right back.
Hello, hello. I am good. How are you? Yeah, you're really low for me too. I'm going to crank you up to 200%. Can you say something? I cranked you up as much as I can on my side, but you're like nearly whisper quiet for me. I don't know why. Oh, there you go. Oh, significantly. Holy shit. Maybe you were leaning away from the mic. We all do it. We all saw Chocolate Rain a long time ago, you know? Hold on, you're cutting out. I don't know if it's like your noise gate or something, but do you have I think it's through your Discord settings. There's like
Oh,
voice and
oh, I see what's going on.
yeah.
I see what's happening. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, whatever. I think maybe you just might be talking louder now, but it didn't happen just then. So
Really? Okay, it might be a connection issue. Let me check here quickly. This is frustrating. Hello, testing. Yeah, so the audio is working on Discord end, so I don't know what's going on. Is it better now?
you're still cutting. Go to your voice and video, and if it has automatically determined input sensitivity, click that off, and then like put it almost all the way low on Discord.
I think I've already done that. Chad, am I cutting out for you?
It wouldn't. They wouldn't be hearing it cut out for you for them on that side because it's a Discord setting.
Right, of course.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like do any sneaky.
Sorry,
debate tactics,
automatically
but
you would put automatically
Yeah.
determine input sensitivity on or off?
off, and then like basically like crank it all the way down.
To the left, you mean?
Yeah.
How is this?
Say like a full sentence or something.
How is the audio now? Are you hearing it clearly?
Oh, so perfect. That was exactly what we needed to do.
Strange. Okay. Are we good to go then?
Yeah, sorry. I thought that you were about to keep going. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I couldn't hear your full statement. Go ahead.
That's fine. Okay. So spontaneously, I don't see responding to anything. You say here, Demon Mama and poly people being trans advocates is the worst thing to happen to the trans community since Jessica Yanov. Jessica Yanov is famous for soliciting inappropriate relations with underage girls online. This is in the
I
wake
thought it was
of
about the
this is in,
waxing stuff, but
it would behoove you to be more aware of these when you make these comparisons, but this is in the light of these two individuals, among others, referencing a trans genocide going on in light of a wave of legislation that intends to remove trans children from homes where they are given life-saving treatments, removing access to life-saving treatments to trans youths generally, to disallow them from being spoken of in a public school setting, so they are effectively depersoned until people grow to adulthood, and are regarded as they were in the 90s, as weird strangers with a mental disorder, and are being generally treated and regarded and spoken of as groomers and pedophiles by a massive part of the politically engaged community in the United States. I'm a little bit perplexed as to why you would think this is a good idea or an appropriate way to describe these two.
so this is my basic way of doing things online. So for me, I think that trying to engage with someone as good faith as possible is the best way to go until they are no longer interested in engaging in good faith themselves. I've experienced that with both Demon Mama and Poly people. So when they say things that are like super reprehensible, I'll be a little bit.
You will compare them to sex offenders and pedophiles in public.
Well, I'll be very well. Hold on. I'll be like very, very spicy with the way that I describe things. But I think that I can defend everything that I said. So when I
you can
talk
defend
about, like,
comparing Demon Mama and Poly people to Jessica Yanev, who is famous for again.
yeah, you
being
can
a
keep on
sex
saying it over and
offender.
over again, or you can let me explain.
Continue.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that when I'm talking about like they are the worst thing to happen to the trans community since this person, I'm talking about the way that they their effects on the discourse. I think I even said as much in multiple replies that people were upset at me. I said in terms of their effect on the discourse, I 100% believe this. I've had discussions with
What's their effect on the discourse?
I'm trying. I took a breath.
Yeah.
So
well, no, you're going on to you've had discussions. Just tell me what their effect on the discourse was. We don't
Yeah,
need a
but,
big preamble. Just what is it?
by talking, well, I let you do a big preamble. I'm trying to be like pretty chill. All right.
I have no chill. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. All right. I know that you drink on stream, so I took a big swig of vodka right before this. All right, because I want to match your energy. All right.
This is apple juice.
Oh, you're drinking apple juice. Well, now I feel like I've come to a party, over prepared. Fuck. Anyways, so I think that yeah, so like in my discussions that I've had with poly people and previously with Demon Mama, she no longer engages with me very much.
I can't imagine
their
why.
approach, well, it has more to do with her trying to ruin someone's life through doxing and shit. So I don't know if you want to defend her on that one.
Whose life does she try to ruin through doxing?
She tried to like have RGR removed from the Maryland Bar Association, so she.
You mean the Maryland Bar Association that everybody already knew she was a part of because she advertised this fact herself?
And then she tried to get people. She like mobilized her audience by signal boosting all of the people in her audience who were saying we need to report her to the Maryland Bar Association. But I don't want to like get off
she was
onto,
keto
like,
jacketing dough on stream for no reason. That was a pretty heinous thing for her to do in her position.
We're gonna super disagree on that, but that's not the topic of today's conversation. I was just like,
yeah, but you're gonna charge somebody with doxing. It would be helpful if you could actually point to an instance of them doxing someone, and not simply referring to them holding a public figure to account who double dips both in terms of their advocacy offline and online.
So when
doxing means you're identifying doxing means you're identifying a person where they haven't made that identity known. That's not what Demon Mama did. It couldn't have been.
So number one, this is completely off the topic of the fucking thing. You
brought it up, not me. Continue.
You're the one that wanted to focus on it. Okay, we can just move off of it. So when we're talking about like the things that like their rhetoric is put out there in a certain sort of way, right? And I even have talked to Polly about this. I've seen Demon Mama talk about this multiple times. They don't think that you should ever try to meet people where they're at or try to like bring people over to a more pro-trans position. They are more in line with, shaming and beating people down until they are no longer have a voice in society. I think that this is like
really who have they done this with? Who lacks a voice in society as a consequence or as a reasonable consequence?
Hold on. I don't watch Polly's content. This is a stated position that she has had in a conversation with me. I mean, like if you want to review the conversation that I had with her, it's on my YouTube. You can take that content and you can do a review of it and tell everyone why I'm super wrong. But I'm just like
I've got a better idea. Chat, why don't you let Polly know I'm streaming now? Tell her she's welcome on anytime. Continue.
Okay, cool. So I love the sneaky way to make this a 2v1. So we are.
Well, you don't have to be here. That's okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So we were talking about the way they are engaging with people. Oh yeah, so I think I deeply care about trans issues. I have a lot of very close friends who are trans. I have done a lot of soul searching myself to overcome my own gender issues. Right, I've done a lot.
Fascinating.
Of,
Can I ask you a question since you bring that up?
Well,
but I'd really like to. I'd really like to ask you a question though.
I haven't gotten through a full sentence.
I will let you finish a lengthy sentence afterwards if you answer.
Okay, yeah, go for it, buddy.
All right. So since you care so much So much, in fact, that you will actually compare once again. To your credit, you didn't know she was being inappropriate with kids, but you compared her to someone who was characterized as a sex offender, Demon Mom and Poly people. You compare them to Jessica Yaniv. Since you saw fit to do that because they were being strident in your view with respect to their discourse around the supposed trans genocide, where else have you been advocating on your Twitter against all of these policies? Has this been a focus for you, or is this basically your only major engagement on this issue
I
in
talk
the
about
last little
trans
while?
issues all
Because
the time on
as I
stream
scroll
and
down,
on...
I gotta
I
say,
don't post...
I'm not seeing a lot here. It seems like your
because my
existence
Twitter
on
is
this
small.
platform,
Your
existence
my
on
Twitter
this
is very
platform,
small, and I mostly use it for
on this
drama
issue
shit.
is only negatively disposed
Yes, but
towards
you...
people like that.
Wow, that was an epic dunk that you wanted to interrupt my entire intro, little explanatory, like why my position is the way that it is.
No, it's a question.
Wow,
Can you produce
yes,
a
I've already
counterexample?
I mean, yeah, sure. I had a huge trans lifeline what do you call it? Fundraiser in 2020, where I had some of the largest fucking trans people in this space come on for multiple hours and talk about their experiences. It was 48 hours straight. I was emceeing for, I think 40 hours of it. We raised $9,500. Hassan rated in. Demon Mama was featured. So was Lady Raincloud and Vivian Wolf. I mean, like, if you want to, like,
That sounds like great content 2 years ago. Well done.
Wait, hold on. Are you like trying to ask me if I like actually care about these things, or or no?
I'm not asking you if you care about those things. What I'm asking
Because
you
it
is
seems like that's
no.
what
What I'm asking you
if this
is what
entire
I'm asking you
conversation,
is
if this entire
Sondsol.
conversation is just going to be about like
Sondsol.
purity testing,
What I'm asking
then I'm
you-
going to ask you,
No,
why is it that you're coming on here to like virtue signal to me when you don't even believe that there's a trans genocide yourself?
I do believe there's a trans genocide. I've been very explicit about that.
Okay, well, how about if I pulled up a clip of you saying that you don't agree with calling it a genocide? Would you walk everything
I think
back?
that the term genocide is fraught because it has evocations of the Holocaust in particular, which means that when people use the term genocide and they are not met with people being loaded onto trains to go into work camps to be executed, they're a little bit perplexed. And so if we had something that more particularized the situation at hand than genocide generally, that would be helpful. But it is a genocide. It actually meets most of the definitions. In fact, the only way it doesn't meet the UN definition is that gender isn't included.
So I have a quote here. Look, I don't agree with the language of genocide here, and I don't agree with the language of genocide. Oh, well, sorry, I copied and pasted it from your YouTube video. You don't agree with the language of genocide. I think the term is hopelessly fraught, and I think it tends specifically to debates like this that are obscuring what is actually at stake. I think the term itself is too much of occasions. Or dependent too much on.
Why don't you give me a
occasions and
link so we can
conditions.
actually look at the clip
Sure,
instead
yeah,
of
1,000,000%.
you
Yeah,
copying
we
and
can
pasting the
1,000,000%
transcript?
do. Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Which video was it?
Loner Vox versus Poly People 1.
Do you have a timestamp?
It's timestamped in the link.
Or did you send me a link? Oh,
Yeah, on Discord. Sorry.
All right.
I'm
Okay.
clicking play in 3, 2, 1.
Hang on, I've lost the connection. Give me a sec.
Yep. I'm at 4:55:49.
Give me a moment. We're
Yeah, you're
buffering.
fine. We'll just count down.
That should
and-
be green. It's at like 3,000. I don't know why it's going red again. Oh, I see, because it's jumping. We've got a snowstorm here.
If you would like, I can just screen share it with you, and that'd take up a little less bandwidth, I think.
No, that's not the issue.
Okay.
Hang on. Why is it red? Okay, there we go. So I don't even think we actually were stuttering. I think it's just OBS being stupid. But here it goes. See, if he chooses simply to not engage in this
Okay,
argument and just
3,
goes, "Okay, guys,
2,
look,
1,
I don't agree with the language of genocide here, and I don't agree with the language of genocide here either, by the way. I think the term is hopelessly fraught, and I think it tends specifically to debates like this that are only obscuring of what's actually at stake. I think the term itself has too much evocations of the conditions that brought about its initial use. I think we need a more general and more specific term that encompasses things like general systemic group annihilation attempts, right? But yeah, my complaint is its evocations.
Hold on, keep listening.
Okay. Given that this is the situation we arrive with, this is the situation we were born into, as it is. And given that this term is already in use, the use of this term and its situation in our social imaginary and how we talk about these things, that now becomes itself like a political entity with real weight. And if something has been identified as a genocide by one party, and another party successfully counters that, no, this is not actually a genocide, the response from outside by the wider world is to downplay its... Okay, how far are we going? Because I'm saying exactly what I've said here.
Yeah, 45 more seconds.
On my end? I'm at 4:57:11. Where are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm at 4:57:17. Sorry about that.
All right, okay. Turn away to things that are more serious. With the result that this thing is now better allowed to press forward and to advance to a worse state. So, I think this was a profoundly juvenile display by someone I otherwise generally respect. It's extremely disappointing. Okay, now I'm describing that I think Loner Box's performance is juvenile. So, did you want me to end off at 17 seconds?
No, sorry. I was saying 45 seconds from 17, but I can just like basically like give you like a...
No, 45 seconds from 17? Okay, here we go.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
My hope is that he can, at the very least... What even is it? My hope is that at the very least he can get out of his head long enough to recognize that regardless of what he thinks about the matter, he's talking to a category of people that are actually fighting for their existence in a country not his own, in a context he doesn't fully understand. And that right how you comport yourself with respect to these different actors has real consequences. And sometimes it's the best thing to do is nothing. All right, we're at 4:58:33.
4:58:33. Yeah. So you basically you say, and this is my understanding of what your statement here was, that you don't agree with the term genocide because you feel like the definition isn't actually fitting in with what we're trying to describe here.
I don't say the definition doesn't fit in what we're trying to describe here. In fact, in this video, I say that I'm pretty sure in this video I actually directly confirmed that. I don't know if I mentioned that in my review, but I don't say the definition doesn't fit.
Sure, I didn't watch your
the initial circumstances in which it came to be used. That is like during the end of the Second World War. And the specific reference that the UN had in mind particularized it to the Holocaust and the evocations we have, because we've overemphasized the Holocaust as the quintessential genocide. We only think of we tend to what? Like
as from my understanding, when we were looking up this on stream, the term genocide was like literally coined in like the 1940s.
Your understanding's fraught. The initial definition by Lemkin is more broad. It was narrowed down by the UN Security Council when they were formulating what their response would be to it.
Okay.
There's a book on this. Like he wrote a book about this.
Hold on, really quick. I don't think you understand what my point was. Like
I don't.
Yeah, like the term was coined as a response to the genocide because Winston Churchill said that it was a sin with no name because it was so bad. But like
yes, but Lemkin was concerned as well with colonial actions that resulted in the disappearances of large communities. It wasn't simply the Holocaust. The issue, though, is that it's been heavily associated with the Holocaust. So in an ideal world, we have a more particular term. However, as I go on to say in the clip that you linked me to, the fact of the matter is that because we're already using this term, and this has a particular role in our language, arguing about it only undercuts the efforts of people who are trying to address the real problems that are encompassed within it that are ongoing right now.
I was going to say that, and then I wanted to say that I disagree with just because there are some people that are using this term that we necessarily have to engage with this term in the same way that they are. Because if we're going to say that, okay, well, these people are using this term and well, it has a certain
Sondsol, the reason why I asked you if you had any other engagement on the issues encompassed within transgenocide up until you started comparing the effects of Demon Mama and Poly People to Jessica Yaniv was because I don't believe, based on what I have seen, that absent that term, you would engage with this issue at all. I think the nuisance of that term is the only thing that actually caught your attention. I don't think you give a shit.
Yes, because I think that by using that term, that is hyperbolizing the effect of what's going on.
That's not hyperbolizing the effect. It's an apt description. That is an apt description.
You said that you would
Sondsol.
Oh my God! This conversation, the entire time is going to be you.
Yeah, but this misstatement cannot be borne, unfortunately. Sondsol.
Okay, well then let me say the rest of my misstatement, and you can blow me the fuck out on it in a second, okay? But holy shit, I haven't been able to get a single full thought out this entire conversation. May I? Thank you. So, I think that when we use words, we need to be very specific with these things. Or at least we need to use a word that is in the ballpark of what we're talking about. Maybe there is a word that is close to genocide or encapsulates all the things that is happening to the trans community right now, all of which are fucking bad. I'm not going to sit here.
Do you think the Uyghur genocide is a genocide?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Do you think the Uyghur genocide is a genocide?
I'm almost done. I will answer that question.
Yes or no? Just very quickly. We don't need to go into detail.
I will answer that question immediately afterwards. So I think that if we hyperbolize things so fucking greatly, then we're never going to be able to bring people over, which is my entire concern. The entire reason that Republicans are able to go through and make all these stupid fuck bills talking about oh, well, trans children are being turned trans and given
is because of Demon Mama and Poly People just being too much, right?
Trans activists that are not willing to engage.
Of course, it's the trans people that are the problem. Well done.
I'm sorry. Are all trans activists trans?
Are all trans activists trans? Well, who do you have in mind?
Wait, hold on. Do you really think that do you consider yourself someone that fights for trans rights, that fights for people to understand the trans experience and empathize with it and be more pro-trans?
Those weirdos? God, no. Can you name any other ones? Or do you only know trans ones? I'm just curious if you have a point of reference.
I would consider Vosh to be a trans...
Jesus Christ. All right, continue. Keep digging this hole.
I don't know. I think that anyone who is an activist that wants to increase the ability for trans people to acquire the medical stuff that they need, I would probably consider them to be a trans activist, especially if that's a major part of the content that they produce or the advocacy that they go out into the world and do. But so where was I before you interrupted me for the 45th time? Oh yeah,
about 6 feet, I think. Continue.
So I think that when we go around and we hyperbolize things incredibly to the point where we use terms that people associate with the Holocaust, where people were gassed and experimented on and shit like that, I think that we start losing people that might otherwise be willing to listen to us.
Look.
Right? So for example, if we were to look at the average person that has jumped onto this anti-trans, trans people are groomers or they're trying to turn people into...
You know this is forever, right? This record doesn't go away. What you're saying here, you may feel like you're doing a good job because you have conversational flow, but I don't think you understand.
I haven't even said a single point because you're so fucking eager to
probably I'm probably doing you a favor, Sondsol. I don't think you thought this through at all. When we look at the way that
people are really, really upset with these things, we can generally look at a lot of fucking parents who are generally pro LGBT, right? Like they generally are just like, you can do whatever you want, but they get really freaked out when they hear the talking points from people on the right that are talking about, they're teaching kids to be trans in schools and they're confusing kids and shit like that. And instead of saying, oh, well, yeah, I think that like those things are obviously bad and we should disavow those things 100%. People will instead just go full-fledged into it and say like, yeah, no, that shit's base. They should be talking to kids as young as 4 about like their genitalia in public schools, right?
They
And
do
at that point-
anyways. What public school are you aware of that doesn't have, for example, books about parents or baby dolls or princes and princesses or any of these things that all involve human sexuality and reproduction? It seems to me the only distinction here is that you can't actually think about gay people or trans people outside of their sexual capacity because they're weird
This
perverts
is
in your
fucking,
imagination.
wow, holy shit. That is fucking absurd. I mean, I can think of at least one school, the one that I work at, where I work with people who
Where they've banned Disney films because
I mean,
Disney
I didn't
parents
say
have
that you
children
have to get rid. Hold on,
and they get married and they
So
have
this is what happens
romances.
when you actually don't listen to a single fucking word that I say, and instead you're just trying to like find the quickest dunk that you can. All right, because I would never be okay with the "Don't Say Gay" bill. I've actually argued with people on stream about the "Don't Say Gay" bill. I don't approve of that. I think that's fucking stupid. That's obviously not what the fuck I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about the
Obviously.
Republican straw men that people are putting out there that are scaring the fuck out of people who are concerned about their children, right? So if we are able to like
They're
put out a
concerned
counter-
about their children's Sondsol because of people like you who are helping to convey the myth that trans
Sure,
people
okay,
are
President
categorically
Sunday, I'm going to challenge you right now.
perverts and
Tell me
groomers.
one, yeah, sure. Tell me one time, show me one screenshot of me saying that all trans people or trans teachers are groomers. Is that what this conversation is going to be? Because
don't
it is
follow you.
actually.
Well, we actually.
Well, you're saying that that's what my position is. I'm
well, we
making
have.
people think
I have.
I'm
I have
pushing
to
this
hand.
narrative.
I have to hand Timmy. I have to hand exactly one example of you even addressing this issue, and in it you chose to compare the 2 trans people you've had any interaction with, to my knowledge, in our sphere, to somebody who's famous
The
for
only
being
time I've
a
ever
pedophile.
tweeted about trans people is because I called poly people and demon mama just
like
as harmful
a
to trans
pedophile.
discourse.
But you clarified, oh, I was only aware that she had been characterized as a sex offender because she was insisting on people waxing her.
This is your
genitals.
only thing? Holy shit, you're so fucking scared to actually
No,
talk
no,
about
no,
the
you're
genocide topic
confused.
that-
This is
no. There's no
Sondsol.
confusion here.
Sondsol.
Sunday.
This is
Sunday.
your only
This
thing.
is your.
This
no,
is
no.
your only
No, because
thing.
I've tried to like talk about
This
the
is
actual
your
thing that
only
we came
thing.
here to talk about, like about genocide.
Yes,
but
yes,
now you're
and
trying to go back to
in
the
the course
tweets.
of which we got everything we need. You denied it's a genocide.
Yeah,
you
so
don't
you want to
regard.
cut this
you don't
conversation short
regard.
before there's any fucking
Oh God,
fucking
no, you're
counterpoint.
here for like an hour after this.
I'm loving it. So let me speak. Then.
Brilliant.
So I
Just-
think
well,
that
hang on.
when
Slow
we're
down,
not
cowboy.
putting out the best kind of rhetoric, the best
The best
that
kind
we
of
can put
rhetoric.
out- the
That's
best
the
that we
that
can,
is that the best kind of rhetoric you're capable of, Sondsol? What I'm seeing on your Twitter right now?
No, but I'm not a face of the fucking trans community, am I? So
Definitely
I think that
not.
we need to have better. We have to have better representation. People that aren't going out here and saying that, oh yes, we are being genocided. And people in that thread, if you want to scroll through it, there's plenty
Sondsol.
of fucking examples of this,
Sondsol.
of them comparing themselves to the
Sondsol.
Jews in Nazi
Sondsol.
Germany.
We have
So if you wanna say
scientific
that they're-
Sondsol. It is
hold on.
established.
No,
Yes.
there's no scientific. There's no
Yes,
science in
there
the fucking
is.
Twitter thread.
There-
Not in this Twitter thread.
not on the Twitter thread.
When we look
Sondsol.
at, when we look
Sondsol.
at the way that people
Sondsol.
are responding,
Sondsol.
when we look at the way that
Stop
people are
and
responding
breathe.
there, and
Stop.
literally comparing themselves
Breathe.
to Jews in Nazi Germany,
Indeed.
I think that we
Sondsol.
might turn people off to listening to them. Thank you for letting me finish.
You're welcome. Sondsol, we have the Florida Medical Board saying that they are okay. It's perfectly okay that as a result of their decisions, trans youths will die. We have a wave of legislation across the country. Across your country, thank God. You're not in Canada, are you?
Unfortunately, I am in the United States.
Okay, so we haven't produced that one at least. We have a wave of legislation across your country that is trying to make it, has succeeded in some cases, in making it so that trans people can't even be discussed. They are a weird pariah. Okay? We have a massive discourse about them being groomers and pedophiles, effectively a parasitic monster subcommunity that has to be dealt with like criminals. They've been effectively depersoned, or there is a widespread attempt to deperson them that could be totally effective within as little as one generation if it's actually able to hold. It would take a few successful elections to make all of these things go through, and for us to be set back 20 years. It is still the case in many places that a condition of even fully transitioning medically requires a trans person, because of holdovers from the history of eugenics, to sterilize themselves so they can't reproduce their genes into the general population. It's not just that there's a trans genocide going on right now, it's that there has effectively been one at some level going on basically continuously since the last century. And now there's a push to intensify it. What?
Do you think that like in the last century that's when this shit started? Do you?
Yes, we used to not have a term for trans people. They used to be grouped under the category of inverts, and part of their treatment was they would have themselves be rendered unable to reproduce. What?
Were they not trans back then?
They weren't referred to as trans back then. We didn't have a word for it.
Were they still trans?
They would still be trans as we understand the term today, yes.
Okay, so I don't think that any of this that you've described is genocide right here. All right. What you've described here is systemic oppression, for goddamn sure. I'm not going to sit here and say that trans people don't have it fucking bad.
Here's the
right?
here's the UN. Here are the UN conditions of genocide.
I know,
it's short. It's short. I'm sure you do.
Yeah,
so listen.
I know it.
Story time, kids.
Do you think that black people were being
Article 2 of the United Nations Convention for the Prevention and Punishment?
Or you can just have it up on screen because I already know them. Right? Because you've been filibustering this entire conversation.
That's okay.
We could just have a back
that
and
is
forth.
That is okay.
So,
we will be fine.
If you want to fucking go through it,
children,
do you think that black people, based
come
off
around
of this
and listen.
definition,
Article 2 of the United
genocided?
Nations Convention for the Prevention and
that
Punishment
people
of the Crime of Genocide defines genocide
in the United States.
Yes, as a matter of fact. Crime of
For
genocide
the past 400 years, we've been genociding black
defines
people in the
genocide as any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part, actually a bunch of ethnicities and groups within that category. Defines genocide as any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, such as A. Killing members of the group. We already have medical decisions being made by medical authorities that have been proven to result in the deaths of trans youths. B. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group.
You said that because there are doctors who have
continuous
said
with
that they don't want there to be they don't want to give the medical care. That is an action of the state.
C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. You had a medical board member saying directly to a complainant at a conference, at a media conference, it's okay. Their blood will be on your hands. That's okay. D. Imposing measures to prevent births within the group. This one's a little less known. Once again, it is a condition of many transition treatments that you are sterilized in the process. E. Forcibly transferring children from one group to another. It is actually already the case that children have been removed from homes on the grounds that transition therapy is considered child abuse. The category of person is being targeted for elimination by the state, by people who are trying to take power within the state, and they're succeeding in many cases.
In what state is that happening in?
In what state is what happening? I mentioned a few. There's Florida, there's Texas,
That bill in Texas was struck down. It was defeated. It is a dead bill. That has not happened in Texas.
Which hasn't happened in Texas?
Children being forcibly removed from their homes. You can look up the bill right now. It is a dead bill.
Children forcibly.
It passed the Senate. It did not pass the House.
That doesn't matter. There's a concerted effort to do so. It's not. It doesn't cease to be a genocide just because the ashes haven't settled on the ground yet. That's immaterial.
Is the problem?
They haven't. They have started falling.
Wait.
The inability to access the inability to access these treatments will cause people to die. They have already determined that they are willing to accept this condition on purely ideological grounds.
Okay, may I speak? Are you going to interrupt me immediately?
You can say whatever you want.
Wait, hold on. The second part of that is very important to me. Are you going to interrupt me the second that I start speaking again?
Hang on, I'm reading something. You do whatever you want to do.
Okay, so you said that there are doctors who are not providing medical care to people who are looking for trans health care. If that's what a genocide is, this is the nicest genocide of all fucking time.
There was a
All right?
time, Sondsol, when people weren't expected to have access to running water. If you cut an entire community of people, targeted to that community specifically, from access to running water, that would be as much a genocide as it is to cut access to them for treatments that are known scientifically to prevent their deaths.
So cutting water is equal to genocide. Is that what your position is?
Targeting a group, cutting their water, is actually recognized by international law
Targeting
as
a
genocide.
group
Even
with
that
intent
narrow
to
definition.
Destroy in whole or part.
That's
right?
not the only. There's actually precedent for this.
It's the
No,
part-
cutting their access to essentials of life. Yes, targeting them that way. Yes. I asked you a question earlier, by the way. Is the Uyghur
Systemic oppression. So wait,
is what is
I gotta
happening?
ask you.
Is what is happening?
So
You
yes,
don't have
I
to
can
ask
actually,
me anything.
yes,
You're,
no, I
you're,
can, no, I can 100% answer your question.
You're a
Now I'm gonna
lemon.
ask
Listen,
you.
if you
Listen, I'm at
is
least
the
a
Uyghur
line.
is the Uyghur is what's happening to the Uyghurs in China a genocide?
I think that the difference between what we can see between the supposed trans genocide that's going on right now and the Uyghur genocide
Is that the
there is
Uyghurs
a
aren't
clear-
dying with as much
No.
reliability.
No, because I would say that the Uyghurs are actually I think that now it's been ramped down because of all the fucking sanctions that have happened to them. But with the Uyghur genocide, we could actually see a clear intent and policy of that fucking entire country to try and remove their culture to bring them into compliance or, like destroy them in the process. All right?
Sondsol, Sondsol, what is gender? Sondsol, what is gender? What is gender?
What? Hold on, we're
What is
not getting
gender?
into that fucking discussion.
No,
That
what is
way
what is
too fucking-
gender? What is it? What is it?
It is a multifaceted.
But
explanation for
at
how
a
we-
very low level of resolution. Just what is it? It's a
I
cultural.
give you
It's
a low-
it's a cultural category, right? It's a cultural category of person. It's a way of.
It's a form of identity that is culturally dependent in some ways.
No,
and
culturally dependent almost categorically, because we don't say that someone's sex is determinant of their gender. That's the entire basis.
No, I
of
didn't
saying
say that their
trans people can
sex
exist.
is determinant of their gender, but like there's so much more.
It's culture. It's culturally ensconced. We identify genders based upon a cultural situation.
To a certain degree, yes.
No, basically entirely. That's why we've separated.
Not
the term from sex.
entirely, because
Entirely.
even if we were to remove someone from a society, I think that they would still have some conception of like who they were, right?
Who they were with respect to how they dress and their role in society. No, you need society for that.
So do you think that like there would be no trans people if we just got rid of society? If you like someone is a gender if they like grow up out in the wilderness?
Body dysphoria is not identical to gender.
No, this would be gender dysphoria.
Well, we would call it gender dysphoria. I mean, sometimes it's used colloquially to refer to this as well, but gender dysphoria more specifically refers to dysphoria with respect to how you've been situated in your society. Like biological dysphoria can exist outside of trans people too.
Body dysmorphia. Okay, see, this is like why I didn't want to fucking talk about like what is gender, because now we're gonna get into like a deep philosophical, because we're gonna agree on what gender is for the most part.
The point is that if the only distinction you can find is that a group identified along cultural lines is being targeted for extermination by the Chinese state, and that's what makes it a genocide. That's precisely what's going on with respect to trans people.
But you haven't talked about any extermination for trans people, right? Which is why I would like talk to you. Like I would say, like yes, there's all like
even discussion. Even discussion
I just want to finish
about
one
them.
fucking sentence.
I don't care. Even discussion about.
Yeah,
them.
of course you don't, because you don't
Of
actually
course I
care about
don't.
having discussions.
Not
you don't
with
care
you.
about
You're
having
worthless.
discussions.
Even,
yeah, you
even
don't. Well, everyone that you talk to is worthless because you don't let anyone fucking respond. Every
That's not
single
true.
fucking video you've put out there that has any fucking views is you not fucking destroying them in the marketplace of ideas, but not allowing them to talk because you think that they're just like ontologically evil, or you think that they're just too fucking stupid to engage with.
That one.
Instead, like
that
you
one.
could,
And
yeah,
you're a bad
well, yeah.
person.
Yeah, well, I'm a bad person. Well, you haven't even been able to hear any of my fucking positions because you haven't listened to any of them.
All right, continue.
Thank you. So I think that when we look at what's going on right now, there's systemic oppression, but systemic oppression is not the exact same thing as genocide, right? I think that we have to delineate these things. Otherwise, we're going to just call everything that happens at a systemic level genocide. And at that point, genocide means fucking nothing. But genocide is something that is really, really important for us to make sure we have a clear definition on.
So
Otherwise,
that
people are going to
until
wait, hold
so
on,
that
wait, I'm
until
almost done.
hold on.
It's the last
So
part
that
of my
until
fucking statement. It is the
continue.
last part of my statement.
Continue.
Oh, yes, thank you. All right, I can't do that again. Please don't make me do that again because my voice isn't going to last.
I can do
Okay,
this all
listen.
day. Go on.
Okay, you have a deeper voice than me. It's not fair. So I think that
I know.
if we allow the word genocide to just be used for any systemic oppression that's going on, even depending on how long or how hard that systemic oppression is, like we're diluting it and we're going to allow people to get away with genocides that are significantly worse and actually like aligned with what our conception and definition, legal and colloquial, for genocide is, right? I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay, so the use of genocide in your language is basically to determine after the fact, once everybody is already dead, that, yep, they did a Holocaust. I approve it.
That's exactly what I said.
That is exactly what you said. You're just too stupid to realize it. Do you have any final thoughts, or do you want to stick around, or what do you want to do? Where do you want to go from
I
here?
do want to stick around. I want to talk to you.
There's nothing else to talk about on this issue. Once again, your immediate impulse.
Man,
I was
actually
shut up.
Excited to talk about. I was really excited to talk to you.
I'm
because
sorry.
I don't
share your enthusiasm.
Unfortunately, the only time
and
that I've
unfortunately,
seen you
flattery has no
manner
courtesy
was
with me. I'm
against
just a
Adam.
jaded son of a bitch. So, unfortunately,
the only time I've ever seen you engage with someone in good faith was
unfortunately,
and
Unfortunately.
the unfortunate reality is that you're so. You are so
I am the absolute
talk.
worst. I'm Satan incarnate.
No, it's not.
So listen.
It's not that you're Satan incarnate. It's that you're so scared to let anybody talk on your fucking platform because they might say something that you won't be able to refute.
Sondsol?
That you will not let them speak.
Sondsol?
Yeah.
Nobody alive is afraid of you.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not trying to physically intimidate you. All right. You're scared of losing subscriber and fucking face on the internet. That's what I'm saying. You are the epitome of what it means to be like a weird clout chaser because you're too scared to let people talk.
Yeah, okay.
You know that you can virtual signal for a couple of seconds.
Sondsol,
and I will challenge you now. And this will be
Sondsol.
my last thing. This will be my last thing. I will challenge you now. Can you steel man my position as I have stated it?
Yeah, your only input on this issue, as far as I can ascertain in recent history, and by recent I mean within the span of the last 2 years, is to compare two people who are drawing attention to the fact that trans people are being targeted. For policies that will result in many of their deaths and to be excluded from public discourse, to be completely depersoned, and in other things as well, to be segregated, yada, 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 yada. Your only input was to compare two of the ones that you happen to have within arm's reach to a known pedophile.
Oh, holy shit. So yeah, you are admitting right now that you did not listen to a goddamn word that I said whatsoever in this entire conversation. You are such a fucking coward to talk to anybody about the things that they believe. You cannot let them speak. You cannot.
Sondsol.
You're so scared of actually putting out what their position is.
Sondsol.
My position is that I think that there are better and worse ways to have discourse.
Sondsol.
And when we
Sondsol.
Sondsol, you're not going to let me finish?
Sondsol.
Yeah.
Sondsol. This isn't a rap battle. Okay.
It's not a rap battle. I'm not even talking that fast.
Slow down.
Try again. Try and steel man my position again.
Follow me. You will be happier. Find your inner peace.
Trust me, I'm super peaceful right now.
The problem with you, Sondsol, is that you're not good at anything. So the only thing you can do, is you can desperately try to jump in when you see a conflict involving other people and to try to imitate their mannerisms and to speak really, really fast so you can skirt by to a very undiscriminating audience, giving the impression that you have anything to say just by the bare fact of running words fluidly out of your mouth like vomit.
Did you have
you have no idea what you're talking
all of Destiny's
about.
Positions and just assume that those were all my positions?
I'm not talking about Destiny.
Oh yeah, you're not talking about Destiny. You're saying that I'm copying other people's mannerisms and shit like that. And you're not talking about Destiny.
It's typical Twitch poll speech. This is like a known thing.
Oh, so who am I emulating?
Oh, God only knows. I think I used to see Vosh doing this a little bit. Jangles
You
does
think
it. The difference
Vosh
is he's
speaks
right about things
fast?
more often than you. Oh, we used to
You
quite a
think
bit,
Vosh-
yeah.
I've always had to put that guy on fucking
Look,
1.7
that
But here's the-
that
here's
doesn't
the
matter.
ultimate
That
thing.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
That
doesn't-
doesn't
it
matter.
actually doesn't matter.
That
Nothing
doesn't
you're
matter.
saying right now,
That doesn't
because
matter.
you're
That doesn't
so-
matter.
you're
That doesn't matter.
so-
So you are. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, what am I?
you legitimately stated in full seriousness in front of your entire audience and mine, that you think cutting off water to a community, targeting them on basis of gender, race,
Was
etc.
Crimea committing a genocide against the Russians by cutting off, or I'm sorry, Ukraine cutting off water to Crimea? Was that a genocide of Russians?
They were being attacked by Crimea. They were being invaded by a state.
Oh, well, you said cutting off water.
Cutting off water to a community internally, to a community targeted on the basis of some specific categorization that actually results in the elimination of a gens, or can be reasonably inferred to be targeting people on the basis of them constituting a group of the citizenry to make them disappear as something to which the government has any sort of duty. Yes, categorically. In fact, it's not even
extra things now, so that you can justify not calling the Ukrainians genocidal freaks.
We don't
add all those extra things on when you just said cutting off water. Okay.
We don't call cutting off the flow of resources from the center of a state to the periphery of a state once it's been conquered by an invading force. We don't call that genocide.
Wait, this has been going on since 2014. They were no longer.
They were being invaded throughout that entire period. It doesn't cease being an invasion just because you stopped caring about it because it became stale.
Okay.
Russia annexed Ukraine illegally.
Give me another.
That's an invasion
that I haven't said at all. To virtue signal to your audience so that they don't, hear that you're completely dodging any question that I've asked you.
Sondsol.
Yeah.
We are concerned with genocide when we are talking about the treatment of populations within the purview of a state.
Mm-hmm.
The trans community is being targeted by state actors for complete depersoning. Even Lonerbox acknowledges there's a process of trans erasure going on.
I even tried to get to that, but you keep on interrupting me. I said in this conversation
care.
when you didn't interrupt
Sondsol,
me, that I totally
with the exception
with the trans community.
Sondsol.
But unfortunately,
Sondsol.
you have to Sondsol me because you don't want me to actually put out my position.
Sondsol. Because you spend all of your free air complaining about it instead of actually getting to the fucking point. Sondsol.
I have to give all my free air to try and get
with the
you to shut the fuck up so I can say.
With the exception of air, there is nothing more required for life than water. You don't regard a community being cut off from access to water as genocide. What possible value could there be in a conversation with you? Yes, in and of itself. If you're targeting a community, a specific community with that, yes, in and of itself.
You're adding an extra thing. So in and of itself, you can't say that cutting off water to a community is genocide, but with the intent to destroy them and target them, then you could call it like part of like genocidal actions.
Good. So we agree. We agree what's happening to the trans people in the United States is genocidal.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Because we haven't even been able to like cover that part of the conversation.
This is an ASMR channel now. Yes.
Hold on. Your voice is ASMR enough. You don't have to whisper. Okay?
Oh, I know.
Yeah. All right. Listen. I think that we can differentiate, just like you said in your own clip, that genocide isn't a good word to use for this. That is my entire point. Genocide is not a good word to use for this.
If we were able,
wait, oh my God, please! There's definitely something horrible going on.
Can you just never say the phrase
people.
"Oh my God" again? It's the most aesthetically
you know what? I promise.
thing
You know
in
what?
the world.
I promise not to say "Oh my God" if you let me finish a fucking sentence. So I think that we can 100% say that there is absolutely fucking god awful, horrible shit going on with trans people in this country. Right? The bills that are being put out there for no discernible fucking reason. Florida is being run by DeSantis.
No, there is a reason they hate trans people.
Well, yeah, they hate trans people, but they're not trying to destroy them. There is no way to prove
They're
that
just trying to do things
destroy
that will make them die and disappear, right? Not destroy them, though.
There's nothing there that is trying to make them die.
The Florida Medical Board is aware of studies and of like the scientific consensus that removing people from being able to access these treatments will cause them to die.
This is the steel man of their position, which I disagree with. I'm going to put that up front so that you can't fucking tell everybody that this is my position. This is not my position. But this is the steel man of their position. They don't think that gender affirmating surgeries is the best way to go about trying to help trans people get over their gender dysphoria. They believe in a lot more like therapy oriented things where they talk things out so they don't do any kind of hormone replacement therapy. They don't look at the data because they're fucking
Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical
they're
Board.
Stupid fucking
Zachariah P.
Republicans
I'm
with
giving you a name.
IQs similar to a fucking stump on the ground.
Wonderful,
okay?
wonderful. Maybe
So-
that's why you can understand them so well. So Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical
Well,
Board
I can understand
responded.
them, therefore I can
just
try to
shut up
actually
for a second.
fix the issues in the world. But unfortunately, you're not willing to listen
okay,
to
yeah,
what's
yeah,
going
yes,
on
I
in the
know,
rest of
I
the
know.
world.
I'm the worst. So Zachariah P.
It's not that you're
Zachariah.
the worst. You're just
Zachariah, just stop,
doing
just
exactly what I
stop, just stop.
criticized
Look,
Demon
look,
Mama
you're
and-
doing
and
word
Polly for
things.
doing.
You're doing word things. Stop doing word things for a second. Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical Board.
Wait, word things like speaking?
Yes. Zachariah P. Zachariah on the Florida Medical Board was heckled at the end of a conference that he cut short, which had been loaded with anti-trans figures who were not specialists in the field. He had been heckled saying, "The blood is on your hands. This will cause trans people to die." And he replied, "That's okay."
I believe it was that's fine, but
If that tastes better going down for you.
nope, I just wanted to correct you so I could get some room to speak. So I think that we can look at what happened there, and I think that that's something that we can say is really, really fucking horrible, but this is not rising to the level of genocide. It's just simply not.
What would rise
Because,
to the
again,
level of genocide?
I think that if we were to see them start actually being able to go through and start separating children from their parents and actually be able to do that, not bills that were struck down in process. I think that if we were to see people,
But they're trying to, which
wait,
would
hold
make
on,
the
I'm
action,
almost
which would
done.
make the advocacy for that position genocidal.
I'm almost done.
But they're trying to,
if
which
we
would
were
make
to
the
see-
advocacy
if we
for
were
that
to see
position
people-
genocidal.
If we were to see them start making some kind of like registrar of all trans people in the society so that they could track them and maybe do something later on with them, these are things that we would be approaching genocide at that point, right?
Sondsol,
What?
Sondsol, advocating for genocidal state policy is genocidal.
Oh, okay. So if we had someone in the U.S. That was advocating for
If
like
we
the murder of-
had,
wait,
if
hold on,
we
wait,
had,
I'm almost
if we
done,
had,
I'm
no,
almost
I'm not holding on. Just shut your face for
Oh
a
yeah,
second.
yeah. Let's interrupt
Shut your
me
grimy
again.
pie hole. So
Oh, my
if
grimy
we
pie
have
hole.
if we have an insurrectionary party that has managed to secure an extraordinary amount of power in the country, almost ubiquitously advocating for policies that target a specific group for annihilation, that is an attempted genocide. You have literally
Ubiquitous. Oh man, there's so much loaded in there.
ubiquitous
pushing
across
yeah,
the country. Yes,
across the country, trying to destroy
and not
trans
just
people.
not
So
just
why do we
legally,
not see-
not just
why do
legally.
we
They
not
also
see-
tried to overturn
why
your
do we
previous
not
election.
see- Why do we not? Well, yeah, that's a completely separate conversation that we would probably largely agree on. But if this is happening all across the country and they're ubiquitously trying to destroy trans people, then why do we not see these like the most extreme bills being like introduced and passed in every single state? Why is it not happening?
Why do we
at
not
the
see them
federal
being
level?
passed in every single state? They're trying to. They don't have to
No,
succeed.
they're not, because not all of the, not every state is passing these things.
Sondsol,
Not even all of the
Sondsol.
Republican states are putting them.
Sondsol, what good are you if you're only capable of identifying a crime once it's already been committed?
What good is trying to like destroy an entire group of people but by saying that they're probably going to do something in the future?
What? What do you mean, what
Talking
good
more-
is
talk-
it?
sp-
They
I'm
try.
sorry.
Are you fucking idiot? That
Okay. Speaking
the
to what
previous
Demon Mama's
president,
point is to
the
start
previous-
using speaking of
No,
Demon Mama's
just
point
shut
about
up.
trying to
The
destroy
previous-
all conservatives and go out and
Sondsol,
start shooting.
Sondsol,
Like I think that
Sondsol.
if we start
The
doing that, we're going to
previous-
see even more rollbacks.
the
of trans
previous
rights.
president was instrumental in trying to violently overthrow the government.
Why do you keep on bringing that up?
What do you mean, why do we keep on bringing that up? This is the party that's trying to implement policies that you agree already would be genocidal.
They're you have to have some sort of like full-fledged fucking plan and intent to destroy a group. You can't have like segmented populations in the country. Otherwise, we would have to say that there is a continuous genocide of Jews in this country because there are people that have like really, really hated Jews and supported Hitler in this country for ever since Hitler was around. All right, you would have to say that black people were being actively genocided this entire fucking time, the entirety of the United States. But nobody is fucking saying that.
We knew the Jews. We knew the Jews were being targeted, and we sent back ships bearing Jews back to Germany.
Was that us genociding Jews?
It was being party to it, absolutely.
Okay, that's fucking crazy. What about black people? Were they being genocided in the United States this entire time?
Is black people an ethnicity, or is black people a color of skin that includes a bunch of ethnicities that, through the process of slavery and segregation and racism, etc., were probably collapsed and dissolved in large part? Probably a lot of groups are actually completely destroyed by that process. You just don't care about them. You just don't care about them because Spielberg didn't make a movie about it.
The entire fact that you decided to like bring up the fact that they did not have their own identity that they could like point towards is why I used black people.
What do you mean they don't have their own identity they can point towards? The identities were destroyed. There were a bunch of different tribal groups and religious groups, etc., that were brought over and were flattened into one.
Yeah, and I'm talking about in the United States history, not like fucking
So am I.
People like
So am I.
Yeah. So are you going to say that in the United States, even post-slavery, that there has been a fucking black genocide going on?
Cultural, absolutely. Even in the
cultural?
other way.
Culturally, black people have been pushing our culture for the entire 20th century.
What are you talking about? Pushing our, I don't know what that means. They've been pushing our culture. What does that mean?
They like everything that we have to in terms of our music, in terms of like largely our fashion, in terms of like a lot of the way that we speak, a lot of our food, like a lot of that was like that came from black communities.
Oh, I see. Because KFC became popular, therefore black groups
KFC
were
was
not
founded by a white man. Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you going to sit here and like pretend that blues music and rap music and all of this other shit? Are you going to tell me that soul food is not black stuff?
So
hold on.
Hang on.
Go back.
Hang on.
Listen. No, it's my turn to fucking like ask you a question.
Calm down
right?
for a second.
You're going to tell me right now that black people have not pushed the majority of American culture for the entirety of like the 20th and 21st century. Is that what you're going to say? Or are you going to say that you're going to attribute that all to white people?
Sondsol, if stock trans characters in television shows continued to persist after trans identities were completely dismantled, and people were no longer able to identify as trans until adulthood, or to access treatments that we know now would save their lives, and a large number of them, people use the percentages of their suicides as a joke, as a jab against them.
Oh, wow, that was an amazing virtue signal, but like you just said that there was a cultural genocide of black people.
I'm not finished.
And now you're bringing up like trans people that are like tokens in shows as a way to prove that black people haven't contributed?
That's what you're doing. You're saying that, because black culture has had an influence on media, therefore no black group is genocided.
Say that again.
Do you have any idea how stupid you sound right now?
Say it again.
It is not a retort to, within the category black, a bunch of different cultural and religious and family groups, etc., were destroyed as a result of the injustice committed by the American state and by the British state throughout their history. That, blues music. Like, are you insane?
You're so fucking far off of what I'm talking about. You're trying to move back to like pre-US history. I'm talking about the things that have happened in like during like slavery and beyond, right? From the founding of our country and beyond. You're going to tell me that we were like intending to kill all of the black people or intending to destroy their entire culture despite taking on parts of every single aspect of their culture?
If the Nazis said that, hey, look, we thought we thought work would be good for the Jews and we didn't realize the gas did that, would that no longer be a genocide?
Their intention was to gas the Jews. Our intention was
but how?
Sondsol, a hierarchy of whiteness and black people.
How did you determine their intention?
Because they're like there's there were orders given to exterminate the Jews.
Yes, they
were
said so.
systematically fucking killed.
Sondsol. Yes, they said so. So really what you're saying is all somebody has to do to get away with a genocide is just to tell a nice, pretty story about their good intentions. You're an idiot.
If I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm almost certain that there are no written documents saying that this is what we're going to do to the Jews.
I'm quite certain that there are. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I don't require them to. I don't require them
this
to.
Is directly responding to your point. Please shut the fuck up.
I don't require
they
them.
Did not, no, they
I don't
did not
require
outwardly
them.
Say
I don't
it.
require them.
It was said between.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, if you don't require them to have
the most painful part about this is that you actually think it's compelling so long as you breathe fast enough. You're embarrassing.
You're not responding to my point. The
you don't
Nazis
have
did
a
not have
point.
any. They didn't have
you're
any
just
written
desperate.
records
You're
of
desperate to
saying
worm
that they
your way
wanted
out
to
of this.
exterminate the Jews. No, there's no worming. I'm attacking you right now. Okay, you're saying that unless they have written records, then like I would never say that there's a genocide. But the Nazis, they didn't have written records of saying this is what we're going to do to the Jews.
You know, we
Because
have
they
this
didn't want that
wonderful
shit-
invention called the internet. Let's just actually find that right now. And not that it particularly matters, since that's not a criteria that I have. But let's see. Written record, Nazis, intention to exterminate Jews. Ah, Let's see here. Key denial assertions that the murder of approximately 6 million Jews during World War II never occurred, that the Nazis had no official policy or intention to exterminate the Jews, and that the poison gas chambers in Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp never existed. Common distortions include, for example, assertions that the 6 million Jewish deaths is an exaggeration, the Diary of Anne Frank is a forgery. You know, I actually wonder, do we, in fact, have documents that prove their intentions? 'Cause it hadn't occurred to me before, but that would actually prove a very serious hindrance to Holocaust denialists if those existed concretely, because you could just point, look, Hitler said this.
Yeah, I mean, like that, but that's like the entire thing that they try to hide behind is that they're saying like, well, they didn't say it, but there's like a clear intention.
Wait,
to,
so you agree?
like,
You agree they didn't say it?
That-
Well,
that
then
was
on
my
what is the
point.
basis of the clear intention then? Is it
The
is
basis
it a
of the clear
reasonable is it
intention
a
of to kill
reasonable
all the
is it a
Jews?
reasonable inference from the consequences of their policies? Do we not have scientific evidence showing that the action taken, for example, by the Florida Medical Board will result in the deaths of trans people specifically?
Hold on, one fucking second. This was brought up in direct juxtaposition to your fucking point.
You're
that,
so
like,
fucked, dude.
Black people. That black people
you're just-
were genocided
you're
in
just-
the United States because there is not a
you're
clear
just
intention
sad.
to destroy all black people in the United States or even part of black people. They were meant to be like suppressed and like kept as a lower class, which is not genocide. Now, maybe you can make that case for like trans people, or maybe we need to come up with an entirely new word.
Black people aren't an ethnicity, Sondsol.
In the United States, African Americans and black people are kind of synonymous
Why are they synonymous?
because they don't have
Because
their
the
own- they don't
internal
have their
distinctions were destroyed.
Yes, I
Yes.
recognize.
So
I
we
recognize that.
Yeah, so you are standing amidst ruins and you are saying, "Look at this wonderful level field. Isn't it beautiful?" There
what
was
are
a
you
bunch-
talking about? That was never fucking said.
What?
Level field?
Okay, let me break this down for you. Metaphors are difficult, I understand. So, what you are doing is you are taking a group that has been flattened out because the distinctions internal to that grouping, which is artificial, were destroyed by the oppression done by the state and by different cultural entities allowed to do so by the state.
Yes.
Destroyed them. Yeah. So now all there is in many respects is just the skin color and the way in which the state responds to historical
Yes,
injustice
which is
against
why
that skin
I
color
specifically
because
tried
the
to narrow it down
sub-communities
to
because the
American-
sub-communities that were wronged so totally that many of them don't even exist anymore to assert their
Yes,
rights.
because the majority of the slaves came over under British rule, which is why I was very specific in talking about the American history. Like the founding of our country, which is why I said the founding of our country earlier, because I'm trying to make a point that every single aspect, every single thing that you're going to go over on the definition of what a genocide is, you could apply to what was happening to African Americans. Even just if we were to exclude slavery, we could just look at the fucking 1900 to the year 2000, and we could say, based off of all those things, that it was a genocide. But the intentionality there is the
Sondsol.
important part.
If the Nazis said they were just interested in protecting children, wouldn't therefore make the Holocaust not a genocide? It wouldn't make the laws discriminating against Jews not genocidal either.
The excuse doesn't take away the intention.
I
You realize
agree.
that, right?
I agree.
Wait, where is that? Well, then point towards the intention in the 1900s to exterminate black people.
We're not talking about black people anymore, Sondsol. You gotta keep up. The stated intent doesn't matter. Trans people are being genocided. They're being targeted for extermination. They've been depersoned politically.
You have to point towards actual intent to destroy the entire group.
No, you don't, actually. In fact, even the UN definition allows for the destruction of a part of a group. You're just wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's a
To
narrowed.
destroy in whole,
That's a narrowed.
in whole or in part.
That's a narrowed definition, in
But
fact.
where is the destruction? It's
that would
horrible
be
things
that
that
would
are
be the
being done
people
to them.
that would be the
It's
people
horrible
that
things
would
that
be
are
the
being done to
people
them.
that would be the people who are made incapable of having that as their identity. That would be the children removed from their families and put into the possession of other families.
Except
and that would
for
be
that hasn't happened
and that
because
would
those
be
bills have
that
been
actually
shot down.
and that would also be the children who die as a result of not getting access to treatment that they are currently.
This is the problem, because not only can we not even agree on what the definition is here, because I'm trying to point
Because
towards the
you're
intent, and
making
you're
it
saying
up.
that the intent,
Because
you're saying the intent
yours
doesn't
is
matter.
whatever
But if I was
yours
to
is
grant everything, if I
whatever
was to grant everything
yours
that
is
you're saying,
whatever
if I was to
pays
grant
your
everything,
exit from
if
having
I
made
was
a
to grant-
complete fool of
If I was
yourself.
to, listen, I feel very confident about this conversation.
I believe you.
If I was to grant everything that you were saying this entire time, then we would talk about what ought to be done about it, and then
Also,
that
just
would also-
FYI, black people actually did have advocates at the UN for genocide. They were shot down because, of course, every single
didn't
member,
mean that-
every single Security Council member is actively complicit in genocide. Some ongoing
so-
as we speak.
Oh, so it is a genocide, and because like the people that are in charge of making sure that the definition is there and like calling it a genocide don't agree. You're going to say that it is still a genocide.
The
and
people
now,
who
like,
the
Soviet
people the
Union-
people the
the
people
Soviet Union who was
the
on
people-
that council. The Soviet Union who was
Yes,
on that council
and China,
also sided
and
with
Canada,
the United States
and the United
when
States.
black people, when the United States was being accused of being a genocide or a genocider, the Soviet Union, when we were like at odds with them, totally just like didn't sell us out for some reason.
That's an interesting question. I actually haven't looked into that. Let's take a look.
What? Hold on. So if I was to grant everything that you've said,
This is a research stream now. 1 second. So here we are. So, 1951. We begin. This is one paragraph. I think we'll just go through the whole thing. I'll just read the whole thing. This is on Wikipedia, the most reliable source in the world. The United Nations formed in 1945. The UN debated and adopted a genocide convention in late 1948, holding that genocide was the, quote, intent to destroy in whole or in part, unquote, a racial group based on the, quote, in part, unquote, definition. The Civil Rights Congress, CRC, a group composed of African Americans with communist affiliations, presented to the UN in 1951 a petition called We Charge Genocide. The petition listed 10,000 unjust deaths of African Americans in the 9 decades since the American Civil War. It described lynching, mistreatment, murder, and oppression by whites against blacks, concluding that the U.S. government was refusing to address, quote, the persistent, widespread, institutionalized commission of the crime of genocide, unquote. The petition was presented to the UN Convention in Paris by CRC leader William L. Patterson and in New York City by the singer and actor Paul Robeson, who was a civil rights activist and a communist member of CRC. The Cold War raised American concerns about communist expansionism. The CRC petition was viewed by the U.S. government as being against America's best interests with regard to fighting communism. The petition was ignored by the UN. Many of the charter countries looked to the U.S. for guidance and were not willing to arm the enemies of the U.S. with more propaganda about its failures in domestic racial policy. American responses to the petition were various. Radio journalist Drew Pearson spoke out against the supposed, quote, communist propaganda, unquote, before it was presented to the UN. Professor Raphael Lemkin, he's the one who coined the term genocide, a Polish lawyer who had helped to draft the UN
so you're
Convention.
defending the point
I'm not
that
done yet.
systemic
Who had helped
oppression
draft the
is
just
genocide.
more important people talking right now. Just give it 1 second. Who had helped draft the UN Genocide Convention said the CRC petition was a misguided effort which drew attention away from the Soviet Union's genocide of Estonians, Latvians, and The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, issued a statement saying that there was no black genocide, even though serious matters of racial discrimination certainly did exist in America. Walter Francis White, leader of the NAACP, wrote that the CRC petition contained, quote, authentic, unquote, instances of discrimination, mostly taken from reliable sources. He said, whatever the sins of the nation against the Negro, and there are many and gruesome, genocide is not among them. UN delegate Eleanor Roosevelt said that it was ridiculous to characterize long-term discrimination
Can we say that on Twitch?
as genocide.
I just need to know if I need to delete my VOD now.
Negro? I think so. It's not the N-word.
Shit, I'm sorry. I'm careful with my platform. All right. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how certain are you?
I'm about 5 out of 10, but then I don't care.
Yeah,
so.
that's about where I'm at. Okay, I'll hide my VOD. I'm not mad at you. Like, I understand you're just reading off. I gotta be careful.
The quote, we charge genocide, unquote, petition received more notice in international news than in domestic U.S. media. French and Czech media carried the story prominently, as did newspapers in India. In 1952, African-American author J. Saunders Redding, traveling in India, was repeatedly asked questions about specific instances of civil rights abuse in the U.S., and the CRC petition was used by Indians to rebut his assertions that U.S. race relations were improving. In the U.S., the petition faded from public awareness by the late 1950s. In 1964, Malcolm X and his Organization of Afro-American Unity, citing the same lynchings and oppression described in the CRC petition, began to prepare their own petition to the UN asserting that the U.S. government was engaging in genocide against black people. The 1964 Malcolm X speech, The Ballot or the Bullet, also draws from We Charge Genocide. After World War II and following many years of mistreatment of African Americans by white Americans, the U.S. government's official policies regarding this mistreatment shifted significantly. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, said in 1946 that negative international opinion about U.S. racial policies helped to pressure the U.S. into alleviating the mistreatment of ethnic minorities. In 1948, President Harry S. Truman signed an order desegregating the military, and black citizens increasingly challenged other forms of racial discrimination. In 1948, even if African Americans worked side by side with their white counterparts, they were often segregated into separate neighborhoods due to redlining. So what it appears here is that the reason why it was not recognized as a genocide or as genocidal was precisely because there was
to destroy.
No, actually, it was because there was an extreme concern that this would provide propaganda for the Soviet powers. It was a red scare thing. Yes.
Okay. Well.
Yes.
Fuck. Cool.
Even look. Professor Raphael Lemkin, a Polish lawyer who had helped draft the UN Convention, said the CRC petition was a misguided effort which drew attention away from the Soviet Union's genocide of Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians. He is treating it as a propaganda tool.
Wait, do you think that the Soviet Union didn't do genocides?
No, I think they did do genocides.
Well,
no,
then
my point is
piece?
because it's being
Sorry,
used. It's being used as a tit for tat. It's like all of a sudden China becomes concerned about Canada's treatment of Indigenous Canadians, while they're being lighted up for their treatment of the Uyghurs.
Because I feel like if, again, like I said earlier, when we use
his point is specifically that it's an effort to draw attention away from the Soviet Union's genocide of Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians.
Because they're equivocating the systemic oppression of black people to the literal fucking genocide that was happening under the Soviet Union.
They were citing murders and segregation, and then within that category of person, you had the massive flattening of all these different communities into nothing.
If a white person does a hate crime to a black person, is that contributing to genocide?
Yes.
Okay.
If you have a group that is being segregated, that is being targeted for depersoning, that has had
If we're talking about black people, they were
you complain so much. You complain so much about me talking over you, but you won't shut up.
Talk for 20 minutes,
but you won't shut up.
I'll let you go.
You won't shut up. It's like every second.
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you know what it feels like. It's fucking ridiculous.
Wait,
just constantly.
You don't get to pull that on me, okay?
Yes, I do.
The entire time. Okay, so go ahead.
If you have a targeted group for segregation, if you have within that group a whole bunch of cultural groups that were destroyed and just destroyed passively without interest as a result of that mistreatment, and then you have people on top of that going out of their way to kill members of that group out of sheer hatred for that group, yes, that's contributing to genocide.
Okay, But you're missing the key component of the intent there because
No,
you
I'm
said
not.
apathy. You said apathy.
No. Intent is not necessary. Intent.
It's
Intent.
literally necessary. For
No,
the
it's
definition.
literally not, because intent can literally only be established in those terms by avowals. But we already have, in the case of the Florida board, them being made explicitly aware that this will result in the deaths of a specific group of people, and they said that's fine.
So you don't think that there is any way to inductively reason intent?
No, I think what? No, I'm that's how I'm getting their intent. They know what the consequences are. They are following through on it anyways for ideological and political reasons. It will result in the destruction of this group. The only motive for it is because they hate and despise them.
It's baffling to me because when we look at the reasons why white supremacy worked, or how white supremacy worked in the United States, it wasn't to destroy all black people. Like, it was this like weird paternalistic fucking.
They don't
disgusting,
have
weird
to
shit.
be. They don't have to be trying to destroy all black people. That's not a condition of
In
genocide.
part or in whole. They're
Okay,
not trying to destroy them. They're trying to
Sondsol,
hold them down.
Sondsol,
Wait, I'm just
Sondsol,
gonna- it's
Sondsol,
it's
Sondsol.
literally five words, five words,
No.
five
You
words.
get none.
They were
No,
trying to
this is
hold them
important.
down.
Sondsol.
They were trying to hold them down as a subclass.
I don't care.
Not
Sondsol.
destroy them.
Sondsol.
Yes.
If I destroy all Lithuanians in the course of mistreating all white people, is the fact that I haven't destroyed all white people in any way ameliorative of the fact that I have incidentally genocided all Lithuanians? Is that not a genocide now? Because you can find a larger category to which they belong.
Larger category, did African Americans...
African Americans is the larger category. And the larger category beyond that is black people.
was-
But below that, because
Hold on, yeah,
African
what was the lower
American...
one?
African American is not specific. That literally just means, black
black
skin
person in
and
America,
an American
yeah.
citizen. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
so now you have a tribal.
well,
now
hold
you
on.
have. Now you
I
have a
would say-
Shh! Now you have a tribal group. Now you have a tribal group that has been completely eliminated in the course of the categorical discrimination and abuse of black people as a group. Okay,
I'm
is that not a
saying
genocide?
I think that you could definitely categorize it as a genocide, like probably like up until they became slaves, like 1,000,000%. But after
Up
that,
until they
like,
became slaves. So if it happened after they became slaves, it doesn't count.
was not a genocide. It was horrible systemic oppression. Yeah.
If the group was destroyed, if a gens was destroyed, it's not a
Yeah, blame
genocide
the
because they
British
were
on that
also
one.
slaves?
Blame the British on that one, okay?
Who cares who's
They're the one-
responsible? We're talking about the definition of genocide here.
Because I was trying to, the entire point that I'm making, you're trying to go back to the point where they were like, had
And
been
also, it doesn't
bought-
matter if the
sold into
British
slavery.
it doesn't matter if the British conveyed the slave trade. The Americans still
Listen,
use
I just
slaves.
want to blame the Brits for fucking something in this conversation, okay? There hasn't been enough British hate.
You're very
all right?
funny.
But the point is that I'm trying to say is that even if we were to like take away that, all of the conditions that are
Sondsol.
in the definition
Sondsol.
of genocide could be
Sondsol.
applied in to
Sondsol.
what was happening to African Americans in
Sondsol.
the 1900s.
Sondsol,
But
just
you wouldn't
chill.
call that a genocide.
Stop. Sondsol.
And I would compare
Sondsol.
the treatment
Sondsol.
of black people in the 1900s to the
Sondsol.
treatment
Sondsol.
of trans people now.
Sondsol.
Would you disagree with what I just said?
How many communities did African slaves come from?
I don't know.
Is it more than one?
Probably.
Is it more than 10?
Probably.
Is it more than 100?
I don't know. I like at that point I don't know.
How many do you think somebody in politics today could name?
I mean, from the Republican Party, probably zero.
Probably
and
just
then-
both. Go with both.
Oh, you don't think that like maybe Ilhan Omar could like name one or two? Like some of the progressives?
Sondsol, the definition of genocide is the targeting of a group for destruction in whole or in part.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
With intent.
No, not just with intent, but intent can be inferred nonetheless. But not just with
Genocide
intent.
means any of the following acts committed with intent
That's
to
the
destroy.
That's the
and hold-
UN definition. The
That's
UN is not
entire thing that we've been
authoritative in
talking
this
the
matter.
entire- It absolutely is because
No,
that's
it's not, because the UN is writing policy
Then
for
why
a federation.
Did you use,
Sondsol,
why did you
shut
use
up.
That definition
The
when you
UN is
talked-
writing policy for state interference in domestic politics. They are
You
not
brought
writing the
this definition up.
They are not writing the definition for theoretical use by everyone.
Isn't that what the point of fucking law is?
What? No,
Creating definitions around things so that everyone, so that things can be applied universally.
Law is for the community for whom the law is. The UN Declaration isn't a law. This is a treaty organization. It is
law.
International law is not the same thing as internal domestic state law. They're different. This is too complicated a conversation for you. The point is,
no, it's not that it's
Sondsol,
complicated. It's just that you're trying to run away from the point that I've made like 40 times because you will not.
You don't have a point. You have literally nothing but the reliance on a definition by people whose motives you don't understand.
The reason I know you know that I have a point is because you have been dancing so gracefully around it this entire fucking time. You've been unable to engage with it whatsoever. When I say every single one of the conditions that we know is part of genocide, you could apply that to African Americans in the United States. You've tried to move it away to like, well, what kind of African Americans? Are we talking about black people broadly? We're talking about African Americans?
Sondsol.
You've moved away from every single part of this. Were black people in the 1900s were African Americans being genocided in the 1900s?
Sondsol, stop rapping for a second.
Were they being genocided in the 1900s? Answer that, and then I'll let you talk.
Were black people being genocided in the 1900s?
In the United States.
In the United States?
In the United States.
Black groups within the category of black people absolutely were being flattened and genocided and being destroyed, yes.
Sure, can you name me like what group was being genocided?
No, but I could find one pretty easily, I'm sure. That's immaterial. Sondsol,
so you're saying this without,
Article
like,
2, Sondsol, the sound of your voice is like a nail on a chalkboard to everyone here. Just shut up for a second. Article 2, killing members of the group. The policy of the Florida board will kill members of the group. B, causing shut up.
Point that you said
B,
that black
causing
people
serious
get, like, hate
Sondsol. Just shut up.
Genocided.
Sondsol.
Because you're so fucking desperate to find a way to call black
people
genocide victims.
Shut up. Just shut up. Just stop talking for 5 goddamn seconds. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. That is also a consequence of what they said is just fine. C.
Yeah.
C. Yeah. C.
We both agree.
There's 3 more letters. 3 more letters. You can survive. You can't actually.
Point by saying that we started
Sondsol.
Because it's just going to take too long. Because I already told you that this
Sondsol.
was how I was defining.
Sondsol, you have nothing important going on in your life right now. You can wait. C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. They have been made aware of the consequences of their policy. They have said that's fine. This has been calculated. D. Imposing measures to prevent births within the group. It is still policy, in very many places, that you must be sterilized as a part of your transition process. E. Forcibly transferring children from one group to another. That is being pushed across the United States right now.
It's being pushed in Texas and in Florida. In both states, it did not pass.
There have been proposals ubiquitously everywhere by the same party.
Without looking it up, what other states have introduced that?
Basically all of them. We canvassed them on a stream
Basically
a little
all
while
of them.
ago.
New York and California? Hello?
Anti-trans bills.
Oh, you have to look it up. So this is
Of course
what
I
I'm
have to
saying.
look it up.
You keep on like making strong statements, and then you're going to have to like fucking look it up afterwards because you don't actually have
that's
the
how
factual statements.
No, that's how we Sondsol. That's
usually you do the research
how
before the debate.
I'm not having a debate with you. You're an idiot. I'm looking this up so I have a list.
You're just too below me to have a debate. I'm simply sitting
There's a
here
lengthy
fucking like
Sondsol.
saying that
Sondsol.
a black man who gets killed by a white guy is being genocided because I'm so fucking stupid and unwilling to fucking concede a single point.
There were
I'm
two
going to say that
Sondsol.
one person being killed is a genocide.
What? What do you mean
You
one
literally
person
said-
being killed?
I said earlier, a white person killing a black person as a hate crime, would that be a genocide? And you said, yes, it would be contributing to a genocide, even though there is no intent by the government in that
Since
scenario.
2018, nearly 670 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed since 2018.
That's not- that
238
didn't
of
address what I
them
just
are
said
targeting the rights of...
whatsoever.
What?
It didn't address what I just said whatsoever. Are you going
That's
to?
because what you say is just a meaningless blur.
Yeah, it's meaningless because you're so scared to fucking admit that you're saying stupid shit that you can't.
No,
let me
I'm
fucking speak.
particularizing the claim.
You're just wanting to read off all these articles until I get too bored to fucking talk to you.
Well, I'm too bored to talk to you, yet here we are.
Yeah, and yet you're still
Hang
fucking
on.
trying to fucking dig yourself out of the hole that you've dug yourself
I'm
into.
I'm not in a hole. I'm peering down one right now. At this point, I'm talking to you as a courtesy. I'm trying to find you a list. Give me a second.
So wait, do you want to walk back the statement that like a white guy who does a hate crime on a black guy kills him? You want to walk back
That contributes to genocide? No, absolutely not.
that it is part of a genocide.
Your language was it contributes to genocide, and yes, it would be part of a genocide depending on where it is.
Oh no, not depending. Just that one statement.
No, your statement was contributing, and I affirmed that one. Now, depending on where it is,
would it be contributing to a genocide if there is no intent by any kind of governmental organization? We didn't. That's why I left that part out of the.
If a genocide is nonetheless taking place, yes, because I don't think intent matters. It doesn't matter.
And yet you can't like point towards intent by well, if you don't think intent matters, then what the fuck is the point?
Well, how about this dipshit? How about this dipshit? What if the Nazis?
Yeah?
What if the Nazis didn't intend to eliminate the Jews? They just intended to purify their race. Is it not a genocide then?
Was the way that they were
let's say they wrote it
their race
let's say
by exterminating the Jews, because the intent would be to exterminate the Jews in order, like the reason, like we said earlier, and you said you agree that the reason doesn't matter.
Well done,
if the intent is still there.
Well done, you worthless.
The intent
yes,
is still important.
yes, you said that already. Well done, you worthless idiot.
Yes, and you agreed earlier.
Well done, you worthless idiot. I'm not done speaking. Shut your trap for a second. Well done, you worthless idiot. It doesn't matter if they say they're protecting children if they're still genociding trans people.
But the intent is still important.
What a fucking worthless person. Holy fuck, that was a waste of time. What an actually worthless human being. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Doe, please come on. Sirius, why don't you go into Sondsol's stream? Hope I didn't blow up my mic. I was actually mad there. What an actually disgusting individual. Doe, you still there? I'll give it a call. We'll see if it comes on. No pressure. It was a few minutes. Yeah, sorry, Doe's a VIP. Doe gets priority. Just how it be.
Your instrument that fucks up.
Apparently, if I set it to dynamically change bitrate, that might help.
It looks like you're back.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're back now.
Okay.
Here we go. Dynamically change bitrate to manage congestion. Maybe that'll help.
Hopefully.
But I can't select it. Why can't I select it? Oh, that's weird. Do I have to... Oh, do I have to select it while I'm not streaming? Oh, that might be it. Anyways, we're back. Thank you, 09.
So I think it's a really good... I don't even know what I would call it. I guess the conversation that you just had, I think is a really good bookend to why the argument over whether this is a genocide is an important topic outside of like just which individual streamer, figure, whatever chooses to use that language, because it highlights how the only way that you can truly articulate what's going on and why it's important is that you have to have these kinds of disagreements with people, because otherwise it just becomes part of the
This jackass with
the
no
wallpaper.
word of a lie. Yeah, no word of a lie. This jackass comes on. He's like, hey, if you target a group of people and you cut their water, like target them by population, is that genocidal? No.
Well, yeah, he's not even able to conceive of it like with varying conditions and how it would qualify as a genocide. He can only deal with those concepts in isolation, in and of themselves, and that is the level of discourse that we're kind of up against when trying to convey to the public how serious what is happening to trans people really is. And that is why the insistence on not calling it a genocide is something that only gives water to that kind of attitude.
Well, in this case in particular, this is once again someone who has no interest in this topic except to dismiss them. Like, so, and I know this because I used to do this. They'll come into the conversation with, guys, I don't think this is strategically the right way to go about this. They won't take us seriously. But his only engagement is to try and make it so that the people who are advocating against this stuff, who are actually spending time trying to address this in his sphere, is to make it so that they're not taken seriously.
Yeah, to cast them immediately as ridiculous.
But like in one of the most, in one of the most like blunt and obvious ways I've ever seen. He's like a stereotype. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pure opportunism. And I was going to come on before this and kind of go over, because I was in Lonerbox's stream today, and I asked him a clarifying question that I think
apparently I'm way quiet in comparison. I think your audio's like boosted way up. Give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
I fucking hate Discord. No, that's up. It's because I'm leaning back. The gain on this thing is really driving me crazy. It's like, it's super loud if I'm up close, and then like the cone just goes.
Yeah.
I think I need to relocate this thing a little farther along on my desk.
Yeah, let me know when you're good.
Good so far, yeah.
Okay. I was on Lonerbox stream chat today, and I asked him a clarifying question that I think kind of bookended like why, like what his real problem with it is, and it basically comes down to so I basically asked him, so because in our current political configuration, genocide is classified as a crime that has a duty to be punished, because that punishment, for many, many reasons, is such a fraught thing to pursue. Then that means, even though we don't disagree on the particulars of whether what is happening qualifies as genocide, it can't be a genocide because it's not punishable. It's basically not punishable under the current framework as a crime.
Basically, yeah.
And that is, yeah, that's
So if you
basically
have
what it comes down to.
if you have full-blooded tacit I guess not full-blooded. If you have tacit consent by the state, then you're off the hook. If the logic of the state is itself intrinsically genocidal and it's completely amenable to the dissolution of subgroups into larger, more manageable categories of people, then swell. I mean, case in point.
Not to mention that the entire framework for dealing with genocide is authored and controlled by state actors that are currently involved in genocides themselves.
Here, I'm going to do something right now before I get dough on, because I want to fix this. This is annoying me. I'm going to relocate my microphone, so just bear with me a sec here. You might hear some clanging. The audience won't, however. You can keep talking.
Yeah. And so really all that does is it begs the question then, okay, so we can only call it a genocide once we're able to punish it in a sort of like state sanctioned way, which is so retroactive that your ability to call it a genocide before it has already been over and done with is effectively null and void. And I understand that this is a grave inconvenience for somebody whose politics is nominally, liberal democracy, democratic socialist or whatever, or social democrat rather. I understand why that seems like an inconvenience, but it doesn't change the fact of what is happening to trans people. So it seems to be that trans disposability rears its ugly head once again, in the guise of, political streamers might have a hard time calling it a genocide because it's inconvenient for them.
All right, how's this?
Well,
this better? Yeah, this looks a lot better on my end. How's this, chat? Is the sound quality better when it's up here? They're a couple seconds behind. They'll catch up.
But
yeah.
As Charlie Price says in chat, it is a circular reasoning that
I mean,
it can't be a genocide because we can't punish it, even though a genocide is something that needs to be punished.
Well, you're right about the disposability part.
Yeah.
Because this is not an issue for him, because what's he going to do in the event that let's just have like an actual Auschwitz scenario? What's going to happen? He's going to make content. Maybe he'll make content saying, this is a really, really bad thing. I can't believe it, guys. Subscribe to my Patreon. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect him. Which is why, once again, like, his only engagement is, these two trans activists annoyed me. It's like, oh, well, not all trans activists are trans.
And to just be clear here to like anybody to any drama frogs who might be watching this, that I am not equivocating the conduct of Lonerbox with Sondsol.
God, no. In fact, that's what's so disappointing about this. Is a conversation with Lonerbox would have been a conversation. I can give him that much credit.
That would have been so much more productive.
He chickened out, and it's a damn shame because like the entire goal, and Doe can back me up on this because we talked about this. The entire goal was to improve the dialogue, not to brute force him into a position. Because the issue people had primarily wasn't that he was arguing against it being called a genocide. The issue was the manner in which he was doing it, the fact that he was ridiculing those people. And just being
What I
completely dismissive.
he talked about a little bit on his stream today, and the summary of it was basically that
He's not allowed to talk about
It
it in the
didn't-
stream today. He ducked the conversation because he had a million better things to do. He has a lot of chess to play.
yeah, but as he was talking about it,
Yes.
he in summary, it was basically that it didn't really matter whether you personally, you individually as an actor, President Sunday, wanted to have a productive conversation with him. He just felt that the perception of it, no matter what kind of conversation that he had with you about it, he seemed concerned that the perception of it was just going to be, loner box bad, and he needs to be bullied into this contrary position.
The perception of him after what is it called? Fed posting? Of like of trying to bait poly people into a TOS violation and calling our chat stupid and laughing at the idea of what's happening to trans people as a genocide and then ducking the conversation, that looks a million
there definitely
times worse.
wasn't a full recognition on his part to the degree that he contributed to that perception.
Yeah. I hate to cut you short. I can bring you on in a bit. But Doe's waiting to come on.
Oh, absolutely.
And it put a lot of work into this, so I want to give them your time. To be clear, this is my decision. Doe's actually insisted that I give you more time.
Oh, that's sweet. But I mean, I am Doe's moderator.
Oh, well, then why don't you just stick around then?
Yeah, sure.
Oh shoot. Okay, so that's different. So I need to. I see. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect you, but then I'm gonna find you again. Okay, sure shot. You're gonna be in. Just give me a second. I just realized Doe's not in the server, so I need to do this in a particular way. Shoot, you're gone. But you're Doe's moderator, so you'll be in Doe's server. So hang on. Oh, why is Discord doing this? Just work for one goddamn second. There we go. Okay, so I need to add you as a friend, and then I can pull you into a call. Oh, and I need to add Doe as a... Why am I not friends with Doe yet? Really? Oh, that's weird. Anyways, Doe, I've called you. Oh, have you disappeared again? No. No, stop leaving. No, Lucy, don't debate Sondsol. He's not worth it. He has no audience. He's just a try-hard dipshit. Oh. Okay.
Hello.
Oh, you're not Doe. Oh, okay, you are Doe. There we go. All right. How are you? Sorry, Doe's on you were on Demon Mama's name. I was like, oh my god. Demon Mama, you sound incredibly soft-spoken all of a sudden. You're very quiet though. Let me see if I can fix that.
Wait a second.
Can you hear me?
Oh shit, I can hear you now.
There we go. That explains it.
I'm sorry.
That's
that was
okay.
my bad.
Try speaking again.
Hello.
There we go. Your audio's actually up now. I'm going to try to pull your moderator. I didn't realize that was your moderator. That's a little less awkward. I'm not just putting you in with some rando. Let me see here. I think... Oh, good. So...
Wait, who are you talking to?
Sure shot.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I'm calling them now, so they should be in any second. So... I don't really like how that went. How did that go for you?
The Sondsol conversation?
If you want to call it that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I missed, I guess, maybe the last like 15, 20 minutes of it.
Bless you.
I saw most of it, I think.
I'm here, by the way.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Man.
You do not need to be amplified. I'm actually going to turn you down a little bit. There we go. All right, sorry.
It went about as I expected it to go with Sondsol.
And you didn't warn me.
I tried. I tried.
Oh, you
I
didn't
really
know
did.
about him? Oh my god.
All I know is he's like a slightly less elder Drazi person who just looks really whiny and whinges a lot about this stuff. I know I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In my DM I sent to you, I said that he's a worm scrounging for attention, that he and Mindwaves both are too disinterested in interrogating literally anything in the world and have audiences that aren't interested in holding those creators to any sort of standards of honesty or good faith. So like I've tried to talk to them before. It is a worthless endeavor.
Fair enough, but
Yeah, very old villains.
to be fair, we're talking about Twitch poll here. That describes almost everyone. This was a little bit more special than that, but fair enough.
He's one of the really, really bad ones.
He's really bad.
Yeah.
He's really. I think that was probably one of the most obnoxious conversations I've ever had in my life.
Because there's like, yeah, they're all snakes in the space, but there's some snakes that you can talk to, and there's ones that you really can't. You know?
Yes. Yes, I know very, very well now. That was, oh my god.
So wait, how did it end? Can I get a soft summary? I saw up until you said, shush, it's a research stream now, and then I had to step away.
It was a bit of a blur. He was still like really trying to insist. What even was he arguing? He was trying to continue to insist that it's not genocidal if there isn't intent, except sometimes it is because you can infer intent, but you can't with trans people because they say that's not their. It literally made no sense. Like I actually couldn't really tell you.
I think, yeah. I mean, I was listening to him say that kind of stuff for a bit. I honestly think what it is that these people have an inability to interrogate like the Christian foundations of our specific structures here. Like this is a very clear like Christian like view of the body and a Christian moralization of, you know, like these structures like have their foundations in at least in I don't know, we were looking at I went over like the history of like the German law, right?
Yeah.
The German law criminalizing like homosexuality it's just straight up like Holy Roman Empire stuff, like
Yeah.
explicit word for word, like.
Well, it's literally like a holdover from the Holy Roman Empire. It's actually a law that they just
kept writing and rewriting.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like they would even during like the unification. This is the crazy during the unification. Bismarck is like, hey, is it Bismarck? Yeah, it's like, hey, scientists, can we have a reason? Find a reason. Can you give us a reason to like criminalize homosexuality? And scientists are like, yeah, we can't really find one for you. And he just submits the like penal law that way anyways, and he cites like public opinion. Like
someone says Sondsol and his community have been known to post slurs at Black Twitter one letter at a time.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Like, but like him too, like not just his community, just Sondsol does this.
Oh, I've seen like various members of them, you know, be anywhere in the NIG, you know, like in like one letter at a time in a Twitter thread. Like, yeah.
All right.
I think sometimes they don't complete it or whatever. Maybe they don't ever. I don't know. But like, it's definitely like they start working their way there. You know, it's an obvious kind of thing.
I've seen it.
I can't wrap my head around if they cut off water to a targeted community, that would not be genocidal. I'm actually.
He seemed to.
My brain broke at that point. I was just like, where do you even go from here?
he seemed to keep trying to retroactively frame those things as being isolated in of themselves and not contextualized by anything outside of like just the bare fact that you cut off water to
What
Crimea, for example.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, well, this is why we talk about genocide specifically with respect to the actions of states. If we're dealing with states at war, you're just joining in a war. If you're interfering with their internal politics, but in this case, we're not. We're talking about cutting off flow of resources to territory that's been annexed. Like it's not.
Annexed, yeah.
They've lost targeting power. It's not cutting off water to a targeted community. It's cutting off water to a Russian foothold, which, like, yeah, you can have like an argument about like, oh, is this worth the cost of whatever? But we don't treat it the
Potential
same
harm,
way.
yeah.
They're different.
Yeah.
It's not even just that you can't infer intent in that case. It's that no, there's a specific intent, and the intent of the aggressor also involves the destruction of those people. So this is incidental. It's incidental in such a way as it's not helpful to now describe it as genocidal. Now, if we want to be really particular about it, it can also be genocidal too. Like I could actually say that if it resulted in the destruction, if the contest between two states over territory, regardless of who's the aggressor and who's the defender, results in the destruction of a group in that territory, you can characterize as genocidal. It just doesn't really help us very much because what are you going to say? No, you can't defend yourself or you can't protect your resources when you're under attack by another state because it will cause people to die, despite the fact that the attack is itself also an action that will cause people. You can't ask that of a community or of a state. You can absolutely ask of a community or a state that it not go out of its way to target members of its demos for destruction, which is what's clearly happening in these cases.
Well, think about how this conversation would have gone if you accepted Lonerbox's premise that genocide wasn't a useful term to describe any of this. Like how disarmed you would be to try to convey to this person how serious what's happening to trans people really is.
Well, this is what really stands out to me, right? Like he's accepting that there is a concerted effort of trans erasure going on. He concedes that at the beginning of the poly people conversation. In light of that, what demands his attention and what's worthy of his energy, which is very limited as we've learned, is to litigate whether or not we're quite there yet, and to try and corner poly people into admitting that calling it genocidal is inciting violence on Twitch.
Yep.
I still don't know how you can say that saying the word genocidal is an incitement to violence, but saying they're targeting us with policies that are going to, effectively kill us, but
It's
targeting us on the basis of how is that any less of a call to like? I don't understand. I legit don't.
It's literally like that scene in The Boys season 3, where Blue Hawk is like, "Hey, it's racist to call me a racist." That's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same logical turn. It's like it's inciting violence to point out violence that we actually all agree in this conversation will result in the actual deaths of people. I don't know. I think in Lonerbox's case,
even by his own.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was just saying, even by his own terms, even the terms that these people want to use, like, how is that any less of a call? Like, they want to eliminate me. They're trying to target me with policies. Whether they want to target me with policies to disenfranchise or take away my freedoms. Like,
Everybody calm down. They're not trying to genocide you. They're just trying to make it so that you don't exist anymore.
I don't know how that's not how there are different levels of response there. Like
they
response
don't.
is
That's
always
the thing.
do everything you can.
Well,
to stop
that's the hidden injunction is that they don't want to have to do the response, basically, because they're all liberals.
I mean, he does say in the conversation, he says like the reason he doesn't want to call it that loner box. He says the reason he doesn't want to is because then the way you respond to it is different. Like it is explicitly his motivation there, and I don't understand how the response is supposed to be different in the two. Like I just I don't know.
Moreover, let's just hypothetically in Minecraft play this out, right? A premise of the conversation is that medical boards in the United States are moving towards making decisions. Some have made decisions that they know, the science has told them, they have accepted as fact, will result in the deaths of a large number of a specific group of people. So what this means is that governmental authorities are making decisions that will kill people. They are doing things that will kill people. Let's say, for argument's sake, that Polly People was in fact inciting people to violence. This is at minimum parody.
Yeah.
She wasn't, by the way, and nobody is. Like, literally what this amounts to
She
is
never
verbal...
even kind of hinted
Yes,
at it. Like,
yes.
Not even a little bit.
Yes, and then you can say, hey, that's not a productive way to go about this. But what everybody here is doing, what that amounts to, is verbal advocacy against policy, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that they're taking offense to is, you're using too harsh language to describe policies that are known to target people for destruction. I just don't understand your priorities in that case.
Because they they have different priorities. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, they don't care. What they're trying to do is maintain their status as like respectable political commentators, while dismissing an entire community, which is why all of a sudden they go kind of nuts on this one, because it's like you should have just said nothing.
And the thing is, like, you can agree with us while at the same time saying, like, yeah, I think Demon Mama and the Deer Person and all those people, they're just really crazy and everything. Like, you can simultaneously like perform that.
Demon Mama and the Deer Person sounds like an awesome title for a Western. Well, I don't know. Any other thoughts, Doe?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, and this is sort of separate, but not really.
Oh, thank God.
Are you familiar with Agamben's text? I think it's called the "What is a Camp?"
No, I'm not.
It's part of a little collection. The pieces around it are called like "What is a People?" and like "Beyond Human Rights" and stuff like that.
Okay.
But in this one, he's trying to figure. He's asking, like what is the, like, he calls it, like, the politico-juridical structure of like a camp. But really, he's what he does is he uses Carl Schmitt's state of exception.
Yeah.
He describes the camp as like, it's a good way to say that. Here, let me just look at his words real quick. Yeah, so he calls the camp the space that opens up when the state of exception starts to become the rule. And he's basically making the case that since the more
is this where the camp is the nomos of the Earthline comes from?
Yeah.
I've got a friend who keeps quoting that at me.
Yeah, he where is it here? No.
The Doe, the Fawn, and the Demon Mama. There you go. That's the title. The new Western.
Yeah, here, I'll read this. The birth of the camp in our time appears to be an event that marks in a decisive way the political space itself of modernity. This birth takes place when the political system of the modern nation state, founded on the functional nexus between a determinate localization, territory, and a determinate order, the state, which was mediated by automatic regulations for the inscription of life, birth or nation, enters a period of permanent crisis, and the state decides to undertake the management of the biological life of the nation directly as its own task.
I just
In
realized.
other words, yeah?
I'm so sorry to cut you off. I just realized
Yeah,
I
no,
actually
no.
have a very important commitment tonight that I have to run to.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh, no,
God.
you're so good.
I got so fucking mad at that imbecile I was just talking to. Oh God. Okay. No, late father's birthday. Have to go to a thing that we do every year. So I will be taking my leave. Doe, I would love to talk to you more, and as well as Doe's lieutenant.
Sure shot.
Sure shot. Yeah. Let's
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
let's chat
No, no,
again soon.
have a.
Oh,
I
actually,
hope you have a good time at where you're going.
actually, Doe. So friend of
Yeah?
the channel, Brooks, is wanting to do a read through of Anti-Oedipus. He does apparently
yeah?
like every other year or so. He does like a full read through. It's ridiculous, but it'll be like on a I think like a weekly or so basis. I'm sure he would love for you to join us.
That would be cool. Is it gonna happen in your Discord server or?
I think it'll happen on stream.
Oh, okay, cool. That'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
but I think it might happen
just-
in our Discord server as well. It might happen in his. We'll have to find out. But I'll be streaming it. So
Okay, cool. Shoot me the details, and that sounds cool.
I will do that. This has not
Anyways,
been
have a good time at your thing. I will get out of your hair.
Take care. Not at all. You're not in my hair at all. I really appreciated your help with all this, actually.
Yeah, of course. All right, take it
All right.
easy.
Ciao.
Yep. Have a good
Yeah.
time. See you.
Yeah, take care. Yeah, so this was not a chill stream. This was, in fact, a very violent stream. But that's okay. It's in your server? Okay, it's in Brooks' server. Brooks will be honorary president for the day. Alright. Bye. Take care, everyone.